I think when I won the Gold Cup, that was the crowning achievement of my whole life.
The unlimited hydroplanes, the powerhouses of boat racing, run for the Gold Cup. This is the one every man in boat racing strives to win, because this is the top
Mic
prize.
check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Microphone check.
Take the lead. And now it's almost completely off the water. The object? A small Tiffany Gold Cup that represents the pinnacle of achievement for the hydroplane racer.
Well, that's exactly right. But speaking of Fast Eddie Camp, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Guntersville, Alabama, on beautiful Lake Guntersville. It is the running of the 112th APBA Gold Cup for H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes. You are watching our show this weekend on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. My name is Brad Luce, and I'm going to be working with my broadcast partner diligently this weekend to bring you all of the action that takes place here on one of the fastest 2.5-mile ovals that the H1 Unlimited circuit has to offer. I mentioned my broadcast partner. He is a man that when it comes to H1 Unlimited racing needs absolutely no introduction. You know his name, you know his face. He's been calling H1 Unlimiteds for many, many years. He is from Madison, Indiana. It is my great pleasure to welcome to the broadcast this year Mr. Jeff Ayler. Jeff, welcome to Guntersville, Alabama, and the 2022 APBA Gold Cup.
Brad, good afternoon. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and we're back at the Gold Cup. We're kicking off the H1 Unlimited season here in Sweet Home, Alabama, Guntersville, Lake Guntersville, and it's going to be a great weekend of racing, Brad, not only with the H1 Unlimiteds, but with the Grand Prix America series presented by Knighton Industries and the Pro Lights with their series sponsor, Phenom Digital. So lots of action for the fans here at Lake Guntersville. Weather conditions, it's hot and humid. Wind is just fine. Water looks pretty.
The water right now, Jeff, as you just mentioned, looks absolutely perfect. It's better than pretty. And we're getting ready to kick off our first test session of the weekend. It will be open to all three of our classes of hydroplanes that are here to compete this weekend. We are being told to expect the U40, the Beacon Plumbing, with Dave Vilwalk out first. This is a test session. We should be getting some lap speeds. We will relay those as we get them. But, Jeff, before we came on the air, you and I were talking about Gold Cups and how many we've worked together. I think we finally decided and agreed we'd worked on about 10 of these together. But if I've got it right, this is number 13 for you.
It is, Brad. Been blessed. This is my 13th Gold Cup on the microphone, and you and I have done 10, all in Detroit. And I can't wait for this APBA Gold Cup to get underway tomorrow here in Guntersville when we begin closed course racing on this beautiful facility here in Northeast Alabama. This site is meant for boat racing. Boat racing is here. Guntersville loves it. Katie Norton and her team, first class.
They are a first-class organization, and they started racing again here in Guntersville in 2018. Katie took over administering this program and getting this race going. Each year, they seem to step it up just a little bit further, and this year during the off-season, H1 Unlimited awarded them the Gold Cup for all their efforts. They have taken every extra step This should really be something special.
Looking forward to it. And Brad, you've been busy on the microphone and streaming. We've had 2 testing sessions for the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes. The first one on the Columbia River in western Washington State in Vancouver. Good turnout. Maybe down the road, an actual event.
I'll tell you what, that was a good venue. We had a 2-mile race course. Viewing on the front straightaway side was absolutely terrific. The sight lines were very good. People up and down the walkway. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful neighborhood there. They had a great view of the boats on the water, and the fans seemed to really take to it. I'd love to see us down in Vancouver.
And now your neck of the woods in Tri-Cities, Washington, the test a few weekends ago on the Columbia River on Friday. And Brad, the first boat we'll see out here will be the Beacon Plumbing. No doubt on paper, the talk of the 2 testing sessions, the 40.
Yeah, it really is the talk of the 2 sessions. And if I remember it right, they're the only boat that went to both of those test sessions. And the first time they came out, that's right, the U8 was there as well. The U8 struggled a little bit, or at least for those of us watching, seemed to struggle. They had some issues there in Vancouver. They came and ran much better over in the Tri-Cities. But you mentioned Dave Villwalk and that U40 Beacon Plumbing. They're smiling like a Cheshire cat. I don't know if they've got a cat in the bag, but I think they may have a tiger by the tail. I think this U40 is going to be a boat to watch.
I thought it was so fascinating. Dave came back last year at 67 years of age, 67 career wins, now 68 is win number 68 coming up at 5 o'clock Sunday evening.
And if it is, that will be his 11th Gold Cup championship. He will tie his good friend Chip Hanauer, who sits atop that list already with 11 Gold Cups. That would be huge. But if you saw any of the interviews or the discussions with Dave, what he would really like to do, Jeff Ayler, is get a win for his owner, Kelly and Sharon Stockland, who have never tasted victory in the H1 Unlimited ranks. Oh, what it would mean for Dave to give a win to his owners and then top it off with it being a Gold Cup.
Yeah, Kelly and Sharon have done such a wonderful job with their team. Of course, start out with the 440 Bucket List Racing. They've elected not to run that craft this year. Reason, Brad? They're concentrating on the Beacon Plumbing, the U40, the sponsor, Bill Cahill, a big part of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing, the H1 Series. He would love his Beacon Plumbing name on the back of a Gold Cup. Of course, Jean Fioret in 2006 won the Gold Cup in the Beacon Plumbing, and Villwalk could get win number 68 here this weekend and tie Chip Hanauer on top with 11 Gold Cups. It is very possible.
And I talked to Dave in the Tri-Cities after the test session, and I asked him again, why are you doing this? Why do you come back? You've won everything, and you've won so much. And he always gives me the same answer, whether we're on the air or off. He always says, we're having fun. And he said, my good friend Kelly Stockland, when I came to him 25 years ago on the Budweiser racing team and we needed his help with our propeller program, he stepped up and helped out because that's what friends do. He said, Kelly called me, and again, that's what friends do, and we're having a good time.
You can see it in Dave's demeanor on the shoreline. He's having fun, but boy, Brad, last year for the 40 team, it was a struggle here at Guntersville. They struggled, made the final, vaulted to third position overall from the trailer position. Then Madison, the boat ran well, kind of come unhooked in turn one on lap one, got that penalty. And going to the season finale at San Diego, it looked like victory number 68 was there, but was taken away by a gun jump by an eyelash.
5/100ths of a second was what he lost that race for. There was a great picture online. I'm sure you was very close together. We were that close. And you talk about their troubles that they had here a year ago. They never answered the bell for a preliminary heat. They made the trailer position in the final based on their qualifying speed.
And Dave done a great job weaving his way up through the field. And, of course, the defending champion here at Guntersville is the U8 Miss Tri-Cities with J. Michael Kelly in the cockpit. J. Michael Kelly, the 2016 APBA Gold Cup winner in the Graham Trucking. And we're getting a note, Brad, it looks like we're having a problem with the Beacon Plumbing at the dock, having trouble getting a light to that Lycoming turbine engine, that 2,600 horsepower Bullet ran back in the Chinook Vietnam War era.
Yep, back the Vietnam era. These are turbine engines, at least in 6 of our 7 H1 Unlimiteds that we've got here. And maybe, Jeff, while we await the arrival of the U40 out on the race course and them to get their issues taken care of, maybe we can quickly walk through the 7 boats that we're going to have there this weekend, or have here this weekend, to compete for the 112th running of the APBA Gold Cup. And we start with one of the fastest boats that's ever been built. Jeff, I know you know this boat extremely well. It is the U1. It is the Miss HomeStreet. And the fans didn't get to see this boat run here last year. Oh, the name was out on the race course, but it was not the powder blue and white boat they're going to see coming here sometime this afternoon.
Yeah, Miss Madison Racing with their #1 boat, they'll say, in that camp, Jimmy Shane, the Miss HomeStreet. Jimmy with 5 APBA Gold Cups under his belt, tied with the legendary Garwood, the first superstar of the sport. Garwood claimed his Gold Cups from 1917 to 1921. Jimmy looking for his 6th Gold Cup here this weekend. Brad, you saw this boat test in Tri-Cities. It was flawless. I wasn't surprised.
No, the boat ran really, really well. They changed engines twice. They ran 3 motors. Each one of those 3 motors turned laps north of 165 miles an hour. The boat just looked beautiful on the water. You talk about Jimmy Shane and the fact that he is tied with the legendary Garwood with 5 Gold Cups. One of the little notes that I kind of like in that was Garwood got his 5th Gold Cup in 1921, and it was Jimmy Shane getting his 5th 100 years later in 2021 in Madison, Indiana.
No doubt, neat stuff, and we've got more stats to pass along to our fans watching on H1 Unlimited via YouTube. Our stat man is here, Nick Kish. He's going to be feeding us some zingers throughout the weekend, and it's good to have Nick on board here this weekend. As Brad, he joined you last year in San Diego, and you had nothing but high accolades for Mr. Kish. He's got those stats. He's got them right on top of the noggin.
I tell you, in San Diego, Jeff, you should have seen it. He had a T-shirt on, just a nondescript Bayfair T-shirt on it, but they took a big piece of masking tape and put it on the front of his chest and wrote Stat Boy on there. And I'll tell you what, when the end of the day came, I turned to the people on the tower, looked at him, shook his hand, and said, I am never doing a boat race without this kid. He was on top of the stats, and of course, when you're at the last day of the year, last race of the year, you've got to worry about who's going to win the national high points. He had all the scenarios covered. Good kid. I'm glad to see Nick Kish here this weekend. You're going to learn to like working with this guy.
Great guy, and I got to call this guy our president. He's the nuts and bolts of the H1 Unlimited stream via YouTube. Tate Meyer spoke to us this morning, Brad. These Gold Cups at N and 2 starting in 62. Bill Muncie, Century 21. Muncie and Atlas Van Lines, 1972. Then Chip Hanauer, Atlas Van Lines in 82. Miss Budweiser, 92. Then Dave Vilwalk steps into the picture in 2012 and 2002. So Gold Cups ending in the #2 in that year. Vilwalk's on track to win this one. He's might be the early favorite.
He might just be the early favorite. And Jeff, we've been waiting for this a long time. I know you have been waiting for this a very long time. We have an H1 Unlimited hydroplane on the water. It is the U40, the Miss Beacon Plumbing, driven by Dave Vilwalk. You were just talking about him. 68 years of age, 67 career victories. He has won and done everything you can do in this sport.
Done it all, and of course, Brad, you remember 1992, won his very first ever unlimited hydroplane race at Mission Bay in San Diego in the U102.5 Coors Dry. And ever since then, Dave has been a fixture in H1 Unlimited hydroplane racing. Brad, he's going deep up in turn #2, and I expect the wick to be turned up early.
I expect the wick to be turned up early. He's already warmed it up coming all the way across the lake. Dave Vilwalk in the U40, the Beacon Plumbing. He will christen and open the ceremonies here for the 2022 APBA Gold Cup. Vilwalk across the line, and Jeff Haler, we've got a hydroplane on the clock.
Boy, beautiful boat ride into turn #1. Dave Vilwalk driving for Kelly and Sharon Stockland. The U40, Miss Beacon Plumbing, works through turn #1. Brad off that turn, silky smooth through turn 1.
Yeah, real smooth. This is what we saw in Vancouver. This is what we saw in the Tri-Cities. The boat was solid as a rock, and for those of you watching on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel, you're looking at these water conditions, and they are just absolutely perfect. It's almost glass smooth, almost too smooth, Jeff Ayler. Mr. Vilwalk's enjoying it.
Up in turn number 2, working well the first time around. We will read testing speeds for you through the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. Vilwalk coming down to complete his first testing lap on the clock in the U40. This Beacon Plumbing. Super boat ride in turn number 1 on this hot, humid afternoon at Lake Guntersville in Guntersville, Alabama. Working through turn 1. Brad will get a speed here momentarily, but I like the ride. They look hot right out of the box.
Well, we were just talking about it. These guys have been smiling. I think they've got something. I think they've got something for everybody. And welcome to Guntersville. Jeff, that's part of this whole Gold Cup experience is seeing good friends. And how about that, Jeff, right out of the box? First speed of the weekend, north of 160 miles an hour.
160.210, 160.210 for Dave Vilwalk, 10-time APBA Gold Cup champion. Of course, the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes, Brad, the world's fastest racing boats, 6,700-pound racing vessel, 28-foot length, 14-foot wide. Straightaway speeds capable of up to 200, but in competition here as Vilwalk slows. We saw it last year on the telemetry after the event. J. Michael Kelly in the Miss Tri-Cities was seeing shoot speeds at the end of each shoot at the low 190 mark. They get around here quickly.
Well, if Katie Norton, our event director, was sitting here, she'd just smile and look at you and say, you know what? This is the South's fastest water, and I think Mr. Vilwalk wanted to emphasize the point. Second lap speed, Jeff Ayler, 163.7 miles an hour. That's picking them up and laying them down.
Fast lane and some changes to this boat in the off season. Brad, they got that little fencing, I call, in the middle of the capsule, and then the very unique looking recess on top of the left sponson toward the back of the sponson, and then also too, not only the recess, but there's a little canard wing on that. When Dave works that front canard, that little canard to the back, it goes in sequence with the big one.
It moves with the big one, and while you were talking there, Jeff Ayler, we saw that 163.713 miles an hour. Just for a point of reference, the qualifying record here is held by Jimmy Shane in the Miss HomeStreet at 162.422 miles an hour. So that 163 is actually above the qualifying record here that Mr. Shane set in 2019. But as we know, this is a test session. That kind of stuff doesn't count. And they're just seeing how fast they can make the boat go right now. They don't necessarily have to be legal.
And we saw spotter Danny Walters over here, experienced crew member for decades and decades in the H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. Great way to start testing here at Lake Guntersville for the 2022 APBA Gold Cup. We're expecting activity coming up next, Brad, I believe from the U8 Miss Tri-Cities with J. Michael Kelly, your defending champion here at Guntersville, and his teammate boat, Corey Peabody, the top qualifier here last year at Guntersville in the U9 Lynx Healthcare, their new sponsor for Guntersville, Madison, and Tri-Cities.
Yeah, the boats from the stable of Darrell and Vanessa Strong Racing, they had quite a weekend here a year ago when they finished 1-2 in the event. It was J. Michael Kelly in the Miss Tri-Cities scoring the victory, and second place went to Corey Peabody. Corey Peabody, as you said, Jeff, he had quite a Saturday last year. He was the top qualifier, as you said. Then we went racing in Heat 1A. He claimed a victory in Heat 1A, and that kind of sent a message that the U9 and Corey, they were going to play for real.
I spoke to owner Darrell Strong this morning, and he is really happy with the U9 coming into this Gold Cup. He said, Jeff, the 9, I'm satisfied with. The 8, need to do a little work. But when you got J. Michael Kelly, Brian Haney, the crew they have on Strong Racing, don't count out Miss Tri-Cities to get the Gold Cup here in 2022. They are a player.
And if you saw my interview with Mike in the Tri-Cities, I said, Mike, you've got a Gold Cup. And he goes, I want another one. And as soon as I get that one, I'm going to want another. And he says, who wouldn't want a whole bunch of them? They want this one. This one really means something.
And the neat part about the strong racing team, Brad, you've said it last year and do it very well. J. Michael Kelly, Corey Peabody began their friendship in kindergarten. High school classmates and friends into adults, and it's a neat twist to having your kindergarten pal with you driving an unlimited hydroplane with you side by side.
Well, it has to be, and it's fun to talk to them about it because they do exactly that. They tell you how much fun it is. And here we watched the final heat last year, and it was the two of them out front, but Mike nailed the start in the final heat a year ago, and this one was pretty much over once we realized the two boats in front of him had jumped the start. Mike just had an incredible start, but then when we went to the Tri-Cities, it was J. Michael Kelly again with the incredible start, and he had his buddy, Corey Peabody, on his outside hip, but come lap 4, Peabody got to drive around him, and man, that was some kind of fun.
Boy, that was a beautiful win, and Corey Peabody picked up his first unlimited win, as you mentioned, at the H1 Unlimited event at the HAPO Columbia Cup, Tri-Cities, Washington. And Brad, speaking of the Columbia Cup course, this track here in Guntersville, very similar, but with some tweaks.
It is very similar. It's a 2.5-mile race course, so it's going to be very, very fast. Again, Katie Norton, the South's fastest water, she loves to say it. And we're going to be talking about a world record holder and a world record setter here this weekend that is on display right behind us. That's quite a story. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. But this water is very, very fast. The course, 2.5 miles, like the Tri-Cities of Washington, but this one's a little narrower and a little bit longer. You're going to see it when we start timing boats off the exit pin, and the time it takes to get down here, it's going to be a lot longer than that normal 9 seconds.
And those longer straightaways, Brad, I mentioned earlier, at the end of each chute, that's where those boats can get up to that 185, 190, 195, blistering into a turn. The drivers, their savviness, their sense of direction have to be on their toes at all times in these H1 Unlimited.
They really do, and it goes even a step beyond that. They've got to be on their toes when you take a 7,000-pound race boat at $185 and you slam it sideways into that corner. If you're in lane 2, just outside whoever that might be on your inside, you've got to have a lot of faith in that driver and an awful lot of trust. These guys all have it. These are la creme de la creme when it comes to powerboat racers.
Top-notch drivers, beautiful fleet here, 7-boat field for the APBA Gold Cup. And Brad, all the owners and teams, it's a slick-looking group to begin the 2022 H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. Our next boat up will be the U9 Lynx Healthcare that we've been speaking about here. Corey Peabody, the driver, out of Kent, Washington, 43 years of age. And Brad, it's remiss, Corey lost his father earlier this year, Alan Peabody, and our condolences go out to the Peabody family and, of course, Strong Racing. And you know what that's like. I know what that's like, and it's tough. And Corey, we send you our sympathy.
Yeah, we certainly do. We send that out to that entire race team, and as you say, specifically to Corey Peabody. But I can tell you right now, when he gets out here on the race course, that's not where his mind's at, because something this big, something that fast, you got to have your wits focused right on driving this race boat. That's what Corey will do. He's a professional.
Business.
It's business. It's exactly what it is. So Corey Peabody coming out in the Lynx Healthcare with additional sponsorship from Northway Construction. That is where Corey Peabody works. He is a construction superintendent for Northway Construction. Glad to have that name along the side of the boat. Strong Racing just recently named Lynx Healthcare as their leading sponsor here for the first 3 races of the year. So to Lynx Healthcare, Jeff Ayler, welcome to H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Racing.
Welcome aboard. Glad you're part of the H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Series, Lynx Healthcare. And Brad, we've seen Corey Peabody cut his teeth in 1-liter hydroplane racing. Dynamite pilot out in the Pacific Northwest in APBA Region 10. Corey began driving the U98 Graham Trucking a few seasons ago for Rob Graham, and now has a hot ride with Daryl and Vanessa Strong at the U9 Lynx Healthcare. Brad, this particular hull at the first Southern Cup, you had a dynamite final heat. This hull was the winner. It was a barn burner.
That was the greatest final heat I ever saw. And I remember talking to the fans here because that was their first race here in Guntersville since way back in the late 60s. And I remember telling the fans who were just lit up about it going, I really hate to tell you this, but they don't all turn out this way. That was something special, and anybody who saw it will never, ever forget that final heat.
And that was Andrew Tate in the U9, the Delta Real Track, defeated Jimmy Shane in the Miss HomeStreet. Beautiful 5-lap dueling, one of the best ever final heats in H1 Unlimited Hydroplane history.
Jeff, if you look up to the left up there, you see the exit pin, and about halfway down that exit pin to the finish line of the final lap, I remember shouting into the microphone, this is gonna be close. And I had never seen anything quite that close before. It was amazing, and I was so excited, Jeff, when they finished. I remember I just needed somebody to talk to. You weren't here, and I found Jean Theoret, and he was standing here in the sand in front of me, and I just went over and grabbed him and said, Jean, have you ever seen anything like that? And he goes, no, and he was shaking too. That was a special moment.
Well, that's great. Jean Theoret, 2 mentions so far in our streaming broadcast today, and wow, what a driver. Jean Theoret, one of the best ever in Grand Prix, and of course had the ride in the Unlimited, and boy, just such a fierce competitor, Jean Theoret.
Jean Theoret is a fierce competitor. He also is a wonderful man. He came up and joined us up on the tower in San Diego last year, and it was so good to see him. We had an awful lot of fun together, and he's just a great guy. He shows up every once in a while, and it's good to have those past champions showing up, still being involved with the sport.
Yeah, it's really neat sometimes in Madison on the PA to turn around and, hey, Jean, how you doing?
He's not shy either. He'll come up and parlez-vous the Francais to you, and then you'd have no idea what he's talking about. But now he's a super guy. We're glad to have him around. I want to go back to something you said about Corey Peabody because I had a little story I wanted to share about him. You were talking about him and that 1-liter out in Region 10. I believe that was boat number 5, the Fast Tracks. First time I ever saw Corey Peabody drive, and the first time I ever met him in a restaurant sitting next to him and his oldest child at the time. And I got introduced to Corey Peabody the next day in Moses Lake, Washington. Corey goes out and runs the boat 4 times, takes 4 first-place finishes, and I just went over to him and said, dude, you can drive this thing. I said, what happens if you ever get the call? Do you want to drive the big boat? And he said, that's the dream. He got the call, the rest is history, and now he's won an H1 event.
Oh, he could fly that little 1-liter. It was lightning quick, and you mentioned Corey's children, the oldest Riley at 18, then Leighton at 11, and the youngest, I like this name at age 9, Race.
Gotta like a name, Race.
R-A-Y-C-E.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Corey Peabody last year, he got his first victory. That came in the Tri-Cities. He finished on the podium at every H1 event last year. Nobody else can say that.
The Gold Cup at Madison, Indiana last year, Tate and Jared Meyer had the wonderful race rewind. And Brad, off turn number 1 on lap number 1, Corey was in lane 4, but that one shot that Jared had from the bridge looking west, we had almost a quadruple decker.
That is
beautiful turn by all 4 drivers.
It absolutely was. And that run down the backstretch, I probably watched it 100 times, and I'm sure you doubled me. You just couldn't watch that one enough.
But the key to victory of that Gold Cup last year, what a masterful job Jimmy Shane did in lane number 1 in the Goodman Real Estate Presents Miss HomeStreet. Madison, Indiana, tightest turns on the circuit. He delicately, at his best, worked that boat on that buoy row and came off with enough boat speed and positioning to get that Gold Cup. And I thought Jimmy done a masterful job driving turn 1 on lap 1 of that Gold Cup. That was key.
He really did, and that turn 1 down there, you know it better than I do, Jeff. That's no picnic.
Soupy.
Soupy, and we've seen a lot of Gold Cups and a lot of races won and lost right at the exit pin of turn 1 there on the Ohio River.
And speaking of Madison, the H1 Unlimiteds will be north of here next weekend, 4th of July weekend for the 2022 Madison Regatta. Same boats, same classes, different place. Go to I-65, trek north into Indiana, exit 29 in Scottsburg, Indiana, head east on State Road 56, stay on 56 until you make it into historic downtown Madison. The river, the weather is in favor this year for the Ohio River. It looks good.
That's what you keep telling me, and certainly you know how to get there, and I'm hoping my pilot and my co-driver and co-pilot over there, Tana Morissette, got all of those directions, because I'm coming up there next week, Jeff. It's been since 2012 since I've been to the race in Madison. I am so anxious to get back. What a lovely venue. What a great little town. I won't get to work with you, but I'm going to be real close to you. Somehow I think we're going to be talking.
I got a funny feeling I'll make my way upstairs to have a little chit-chat with you on the H1 Unlimited Network via YouTube. I'll be on the PA with Jordan Bear next weekend, the morning show host up at 96.7 FM WRX. But Brad, we're so glad to have you back in Madison working the stream next weekend. And it's going to be hot and humid in Indiana like it is here in Alabama, but it's boat racing weather. That's what we love.
That's what we like. That's part of the shtick. And sometimes people will say in the Tri-Cities, they'll go, man, it just gets so hot over there. That's part of the deal. If you don't like the heat, don't come to the Tri-Cities. It'll be hot. It'll be hot in Madison. It's a little toasty right here, right now, Jeff.
Waiting for the U9, Lynx Healthcare, to make their way out onto the race course and testing only. Brad, we've talked about Madison, Indiana. Katie Norton wants us to talk about Guntersville. Look at this schedule for tomorrow. We begin at 8 a.m. in a 2-hour H1 Unlimited testing session. Then at 10 o'clock, you'll be conducting opening ceremonies.
And then at 10:15, right after that, we got a big surprise for everybody. And if you haven't ever seen this before, you want to be ready to roll here at 10:15, immediately following our opening ceremonies, which will feature some dignitaries. We're going to have an exhibition run of the Miss US, the U36. It's the Miss US 4. Your good friend and mine, Mark Weber, is going to step into the cockpit and bring this vintage hydroplane out on the water. I can't wait. I know you've seen it run a bunch of times. I have too. I talked to Mark this morning. I know you did as well. It's going to be fun, and we will talk about vintage hydroplanes, and you and I are a couple vintage guys, so that fits right in our wheelhouse.
You're exactly right, and looking forward to that. Tomorrow, the 1957 Henry Lauterbach bib hull, and Mark Weber will be in the cockpit. They'll make 4 exhibition runs on the weekend, 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. Brad will have to get back reviewing our Saturday schedule a little bit later because we have an H1 Unlimited hydroplane on the water. Who is it?
It is going to be the U9, the Lynx Healthcare, and Corey Peabody behind the wheel. He was our second place finisher 1 year ago in the race for the Southern Cup. He is away from the dock. He's about halfway across the lake right now. They got a bit of a trek coming across there, but he'll be in front of us momentarily.
I thought they had a good test in Tri-Cities. We mentioned earlier, this boat was the top qualifier here at last year's Southern Cup. Brad, does that provide confidence to this team starting out here in 2022 looking for a Gold Cup, because they know this boat works well on this water?
They do, and I think it really does bode well for both of these boats because, as you said, they both ran very, very well. I remember talking to J. Michael Kelly and Corey Peabody in the Tri-Cities, and they both had the same thing to say, that they loved Madison, but unfortunately, that tight course you were talking about there on the Ohio River kind of gobbled both of them up. They like this course here. They can stretch the legs in these things. These boats are going to be someone you're going to have to deal with all weekend.
And that top speed last year in qualifying at Lake Guntersville was 158.623 miles per hour. And Brad, right now, Corey going at a leisurely pace, I think, re-identifying himself with this 2.5-mile oval here at Lake Guntersville. Tagging is the south fastest water, and that's 100% correct.
And they can back it up. You don't have to walk very far, Jeff. Just right behind here, you'll find a former world record holder on display right behind us, and we'll talk about it a lot tomorrow. But for the fans, when they come in, you're going to have to find your way up the start-finish line. Take a look at a real piece of history, that 1962 world record setter, the Miss US with Roy Doobie. We'll get to that. Meanwhile, Corey comes off the lower corner. Not jumping on it just yet, but he will. He's finding his way around, like you said.
The dominant silver with the fluorescent orange effect on the top of the capsule, the top of the cowling, and the canard wing up in the front, Brad, a very valuable tool for the H1 Unlimited hydroplane pilots. That canard wing, which they can adjust inside the cockpit. That left foot pedal, it's not a brake, it's to adjust that canard.
Yeah, it's not a brake. You start pushing that pedal, you want to go a little faster. And Corey certainly knows how to do that. They do drive with 2 feet. They control the gas pedal, then they control that front canard wing, and that addresses how much air goes underneath the boat. Looks like Corey, I thought maybe he was going to put his foot in it there, but I don't think so just yet. But Corey's going to come off the top end of the race course, come down and complete his first lap, albeit a slow one. The U9 Lynx Healthcare. So glad to have them on board with us for our first 3 races.
Corey spotter, Jeff Campbell right below our position here, Brad, at the start-finish line. And Jeff Campbell has been with this hydroplane for a number of years, and he knows how to make it sing.
He really does. And I want to point out something to our fans that are watching online. We'll talk about it as we go through the weekend, but there were some issues. Some people had a hard time telling the 2 boats apart, the 8 and the 9. It's very easy this year, Jeff. The 8 that you'll see come out here later today, the fairings, the vertical uprights at the back of the boat are bright orange, and it's a much brighter orange than it was a year ago. Very bright orange. They are silver on Corey's ride, the U9. And talk about his ride, the Little Bullet. He's running up the backstretch hard now. Corey Peabody.
And you can tell along the shoreline here visually, and of course watching online, streaming H1 Unlimited via YouTube. Corey Peabody up in turn number 2, and the U9 Lynx Healthcare keeps it in about a lane 1 sequence. Nice turn, works that canard as he'll come down to complete a lap on the clock in testing only for the H1 Unlimited here at APBA Gold Cup here at the Lake Guntersville Hydrofest in Guntersville, Alabama. Peabody back into turn number 1 with the big bridge in the background. Brad, it's not a big left-hand sweeper, but it's a little close.
It's still a left-hand sweeper, and I know you'll bring that out this weekend. Just part of the vocabulary that our friend Jeff Ayler loves to use. You're going to hear all kinds of good cliches and one-liners out of Jeff. He's been doing this for a long time. He's got his own very unique style, and it is just more fun than 2 people are supposed to be able to have when Jeff and I get together on a microphone. Look at Corey, top end of the race course. Slides it out to about lane number 2. It'd be a tight one inside him, but here he comes to put his first hot lap in the books. He turned that first one, just warming up at 136. This one's going to be a whole lot higher than that one. Corey Peabody, Lynx Healthcare, Jeff.
Little walking activity. When we say walking, that's that boat tiptoeing back and forth on the sponsons. Back into turn number 1. Corey, the last time around, 136.388. You see that secondary rooster tail off the skid fin, bolted behind the left sponson. It helps turn the Unlimiteds. And Brad, smooth run. Will he get in the 160 bracket?
We're about to find out. We haven't got that first hot lap speed yet. They're still monitoring the H1 network here. We'll have it very, very shortly. You're watching H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. Brad Luce along with Jeff Ayler. It is our first testing session for the 2022 APBA Gold Cup. Jeff, we didn't get the exact speed, but it was in the area of 159, so he's right there.
It's a beauty, 159 plus, and there's that walking activity once again, Brad, and they like that. That way the boat is not stuck to the water. They like that tiptoe activity to free it up as he works back into turn number 1 on this lightning quick 2.5 mile course here at Lake Guntersville. Exits the turn. Brad, I think the 9 has come to play. They're looking for the gold.
Yeah, you mentioned that they were the top qualifier a year ago. It was not at 159 miles an hour. It was something short of that. I think they've got to be very happy with the way the boat is running right now. It's a test session. you want to try, and we've got another speed 159.855 miles an hour. 159.855, Jeff. As you like to say, he's sniffing that 160 mark.
He's sniffing that 160, and he's cranking it up. We'll come down to complete another lap here on the clock and testing only. Corey Peabody, U9 Lynx Healthcare. You can tell right off the throttle a little bit by the sound of the Lycoming turbine entering turn number 1. We'll get a time for you. And I think it's a good way to start off the weekend for the 9. And Brad, yes, he is directing the craft back to the pit area, which is a long way from our position here at the start-finish line. And Brad, he did it. 160.568 miles per hour. 160.568 for Corey Peabody. They're aggressive.
They're aggressive. They're also very good. And, you know, one thing we really haven't talked about, we have 7 boats here. Honestly, we say this all the time, and you are guilty of it, and so am I. We overhype the field. Sometimes we can fall into that trap. We can overhype the field and say, wow, there's 6 or 7 boats that can win here. Jeff, there's 6 or 7 boats here that can win this thing.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say every boat in that pit area in H1 Unlimited will do laps of over 155 miles per hour in testing. Either today or tomorrow, all 7 will be over $1.55.
I don't think there's any question about it. And we haven't talked about that piston packer that's going to be in there. The Terminator is here for the first time, and you've said it for years, Jeff Ayler. You think this course lays out perfectly for that boat. Ed Cooper's U3. The Griggs presents Miss Ace Hardware. A shout out to Ace Hardware, a shout out to Charlie Grigg for working with Ed Cooper and bringing the 3 down here. Fans, you are in for a treat when the U3 comes out on the water with Jimmy King, and they are a player.
Well, shame on me for missing the first 2 Southern Cups. And when I saw this water here last year, one of the first things I told you, Ed Cooper has to get this boat here. The U3 Griggs presents Miss Ace Hardware with the 1710 cubic inch turbocharged Allison engine, cranks over 3,000 horsepower, a dynamite driver in Jimmy King at 61 years of age, drives like a 21-year-old. Get this boat on the pins, right scenario, right water conditions, never say never, they got a shot.
It's an awfully, awfully fast hydroplane. The turbines have nothing on this boat, especially in the straightaways. And we have a longer run that you're going to see coming off that exit pin at the top end of the race course down to the start-finish line. We like to talk about 9.5, maybe 10 seconds off that exit pin. It's longer than that here. And he's going to have that opportunity to crank all those cubic inches you're talking about, and he's going to have them up at full throttle. He hits it on the line in good, clean water on an inside lane. You got your hands full driving around the 3.
And you mentioned Charlie Grigg. What a great addition to the sport of H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Racing, the local sponsor out in Tri-Cities, Washington. Brad, you're very familiar with the Griggs family businesses in Southeast Washington State. And Charlie, thank you for helping Ed get down to the Gold Cup. And Charlie would like to be here, but he's working the Richland Regatta on the Columbia River for the APBA Western Divisionals this weekend. So got a funny feeling he might be tuning in some to us.
Well, he definitely wanted to be down here, but he's not only involved in going down to that event, he's involved in putting that event on. And there was some discussion at some of the meetings they had this past week. There's 3 or 4 people there that are going to be dialing us up, Jeff, because they all want to be here. And one of them is Charlie Grigg. The other, our good friend Steve Compton. He would love to be down here. John and Vonna Culver, they would love to be down here as well. So a lot of people going to be listening. This is the big one.
Also, too, this weekend, the flat bottom racers. They love Burley, Idaho, and they're there this weekend. And our 2013 APBA Gold Cup winner, Kip Brown, is in Burley this weekend, completing in the flat bottoms. And that just goes to show you the parity with these drivers, crewmen, and team. You can bounce around from class to class to class.
You really can. And now what's happening with so many of these drivers that you and I have known for so many years, and we've watched some of them get involved with H1, we've watched some of them get involved in some of the other classes, and now we see they're not showing up to our H1 events because their kids are starting to drive. And the name that comes to mind immediately is good Kipper Brown, our good buddy. You mentioned the 2013 APBA Gold Cup. I saw that race. I didn't get to call that race, or at least all of it in the final heat. That's an inside joke with Jeff and I. We've had it going on for years, but Kipper's a good guy.
I'm still trying to reel you in on that one. But isn't it neat? Kip Brown and his wife Tiffany, their youngest daughter Katie, she's now a T-boat driver in the APBA inboard hydroplane division. Scott Litticoat, super pilot, one-time unlimited chauffeur. His son Grant is in the T-boats, and Brad, APBA Region 10 with the T class. Some youngsters is getting a crack, and one I can't wait to see later in the year in the T-boat is Carson Kelly.
Carson Kelly he's been like magic in anything he's touched. He drives that outboard so very well, and it's so much fun to watch him run, because when he's out on the race course, there is a very interested father standing there, hands on hips, ready to talk to his son. And J. Michael Kelly is so proud of Carson and everything he's doing. Someday down the road, we're going to be talking to Carson Kelly in this APBA Gold Cup.
I know I'm going to leave out some, but I won a T-boat championship some year with Katie Brown, Grant Litticoat, Carson Kelly, Colton Shane, Hudson Shane, Finley Eccles. I'll even throw Eddie Canfush in there as the veteran. He would probably try to school all those kids back here. And boy, he's off to a great start with his inboard driving career. He drives the simulators just like he drives the real ones, checkered flag.
Absolutely he does. So, and one of these days, he's going to pick up a microphone. One of these days. We found out how good he was with the microphone in Tri-Cities last year. He's actually better than I was just about 5 seconds ago, and everybody got a good chuckle at my first faux pas of the weekend.
But it's great to see the T-boat influx out in APBA Region 10 in Washington State. And no doubt, Brad, some talented drivers coming up in the sport, and the future is always there, and it does look bright in the inboard category.
It does, and the future also looks very bright in the H1 Unlimited category. I know you and I were talking a couple of weeks ago about discussions with Darrell Strong, and of course he's got his two boats here, the U8 and the U9, the Lynx Healthcare and Miss Tri-Cities. There is nobody more bullish on H1 Unlimited racing than Darrell Strong, and I know you spoke with him this morning. He's on the board of directors now, and this guy says, we're just getting started. We need that type of an attitude driving this sport forward.
Great talking with Darrell this morning, and Brad, you're right, echoing the comments. Darrell, very positive, looking to the future for H1 Unlimited hydroplane racing. He's campaigning 2 crafts here this weekend. Miss Madison Racing with 2 crafts here on the East Coast, the Miss HomeStreet and the Miss Goodman Real Estate, and great owners in the sport looking to grow. The potential's there.
The potential is there, and let's hope that Darrell is right and other members of the H1 Unlimited board. We need to grow this sport. We've got some venues that we need to get back to, and I know that a lot of people want to get there, and I know there's discussions about that and some new venues across the country. Let's hope, because you love it, I love it. We both grew up with it, and you're not getting it out of our blood once it gets in there. This stuff gets a hold of you, you just can't let go.
Been following it since 1971.
Well, what a good year to start for a guy from Madison, Indiana. I know you were there in 1971 when Jim McCormick, driving the Miss Madison, put that just incredible victory together. Ended up being a motion picture right after the turn of the century, and just one of the great stories in hydroplane racing.
And of course, it was tape delayed broadcast later on ABC's Wide World of Sports with the late Keith Jackson. Whoa, Nelly.
Whoa, Nelly, the late, great Keith Jackson. A lot of people don't know Keith Jackson when it comes to H1 Unlimited hydroplanes. They all think of Keith Jackson and they think of the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. but he cut his teeth on hydroplane racing on KING TV Channel 5 in Seattle. And all of sports lost a tremendous announcer with the passing of Keith Jackson, but we'll never forget him. And he's immortalized on so many of those ABC Wide World of Sports broadcasts that you and I love and watch.
Oh, we've watched him and other great broadcasters that did hydroplane racing on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Bill Fleming.
Bill Fleming, absolutely. He did a lot of them, and you don't realize it till you get back and start watching a lot of that stuff in the late 60s and into the 70s. Bill Fleming, he was right there.
And a Detroit native, I believe, that ended up at Wide World of Sports for ABC. Dave Dials did hydroplane racing as well.
Dave Dials, yeah, we can go on down that list. A lot of them have had good careers and spent a certain amount of time with the H1 Unlimited circuit, some more than others. We've got a boat up at the top end of the race course, and it's one of my favorites. And I'm going to tell everybody who wants to look at the stream here, get a good close look at this boat if you can. There is, from my way of thinking, I'm not sure there's a better looking boat on the race course. There's no color that is harder to work with than gold, and this paint job is spectacular.
Oh, it sets off on the water, and also, too, when it's on tilt on the trailer, it's a beautiful paint scheme. The U91. Miss Goodman Real Estate. Brad, I was asked a trivia question. At Chandler Chevrolet earlier this week from our service department manager, Travis Guyman. Jeff, why is that boat U91? 1991 was the year that the sponsor, John Goodman, began his business.
And if I was smart, I would have made that one of our footnotes on here in our little cheat sheet where some of this stuff is. But quite candidly, until you told me that over coffee this morning, I didn't know that. So thank you, Mr. Ayler, as Jeff Bernard runs hard up the backstretch in one of the most winningest hulls in the history of H1 Unlimited Racing. It is the third winningest hull of all time. It has entered 64 races. This is number 65. They have claimed 25 wins, including, get this, 4 Gold Cups and 8 National High Points Championships. Jeff Bernard, you know, can drive. These guys are a player.
Bernard putting some smoke to it down the front straightaway here. He's on the clock and testing only here for the H1 Unlimited. Bernard resides in Kent, Washington, married to his wife Christabel, who is watching this afternoon, and they have 2 daughters. Oldest Blakely, the youngest Rylan, off the turn, U91 looking good right out of the box.
And Christabel, you mentioned her. Christabel, if you're listening, we miss you. We're right here in the sand where we always are on start-finish line. Hello to Christabel. We'll make sure we give you all the action and let you know what Jeff is doing. He flew on the red eye last night to get down here. He's had a few bags under his eyes when I saw him this morning, but he'll get a good night's sleep tonight and he'll be ready to go. The top end of the race course, the U91, gold and black, the Miss Goodman Real Estate. Off the top end of the course, here he comes, Jeff. We'll get a speed on him here as he puts a hot lap in the books.
Boy, beautiful boat ride as he approaches the start-finish line buoy. Jeff Bernard and Goodman Real Estate. Jeff will pull double duty this weekend. He'll drive in the Grand Prix America Hydroplane Series presented by Knighton Industries for Mike Grindell in the Bad Influence. So Jeff looking for a Gold Cup and Unlimited and a Southern National title in GPA. Looking sharp here, though, in the black and gold 91.
Yeah, it's just a great looking hydroplane. You've been watching this boat for so many years. The hull first hit the water in 2007. We'll remember it very, very well as it showed up as the Oh Boy Oberto. And we've got a fast lap coming out for Jeff just north of 158 miles an hour. I think you can see the whole number there, Jeff.
158.233 miles per hour for Jeff Bernard the last time around. 158.233. Second entry for Miss Madison Racing out of Madison, Indiana. Jeff Bernard flies the U91 Goodman Real Estate across the start-finish line buoy as he works into turn number 1. Brad puts it on the hook. Boat looking good right here out of the box. The U91 Goodman Real Estate. We're going to have a second boat come out and testing as well. It appears to be the U8 Miss Tri-Cities, but Brad, I think J. Michael let Jeff get some clean water. We'll see what this lap turns out to be, and it's faster. 159.233 .148 miles per hour, 159, 148. 3 boats have tested. Billwalk at 163, Peabody at 160, Bernard at 159.
Here he comes.
Is the 1.60 coming up?
It's coming right now. We mentioned that only 2 boats tested at both Vancouver and in the Tri-Cities. This boat only tested in Vancouver. It was the first boat out on the Columbia River, and they put on a show for the fans. Jeff Bernard puts a hot one in the books. I predicted 160. We'll find out. It's being written down right now. It's not, but it's coming.
Thought he got off the throttle just a touch going into turn number 1, but Brad, that looks like some good skid fin water through turn number 1 as we await a time here for Bernard's 3rd hot lap in testing, and 159.679 miles per hour, 159.679, just a skosh under 160.
I like that word, a skosh. Now here comes J. Michael Kelly across start-finish line, and as you were talking about, he is yielding to his good friend, Jeff Bernard. He's running way on the outside course markers, but there is the Miss Tri-Cities. J. Michael Kelly, your defending champion here, Jeff. The boat likes this water. Jeff, J. Michael Kelly, really likes this race course.
Bernard, another hot lap. We'll get a time here for him. You can tell Jeff slows this time entering turn number 1. He saw J. Michael Kelly in front of him and thought, might be best to get off the throttle, the Goodman real estate. You can't win the Gold Cup in testing on Friday. That comes at 5 o'clock Central Time on Sunday.
Oh, my goodness.
159.988 miles per hour, 159.988. A minuscule under 160.
Can you get any closer and not be there? Oh, and Jeff heads it back to the pit area, but either way, they've got to be very, very happy with their speeds and how the boat ran. Now, here is our defending champion on the Lake Guntersville South's fastest waters, walking to sponsons, J. Michael Kelly. He's got a lot of air under the boat, Jeff. He's really flying it.
J. Michael, 43 years of age, a Finnish carpenter out in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, married to his wife, Angela, sons Brennan, Carson, and Asher. And Brad, the boat tested in Vancouver and Tri-Cities. I don't think up to their standards. This testing session here is very important. First lap, and he was well away from the pins at 149.036.
Yeah, and you know, there was some dry land boat racing going on over there at that test session, because I talked to Mike after he ran his laps in Tri-Cities, and it was a great improvement over some difficulties that they had in Vancouver. But both J. Michael Kelly and owner Darrell Strong says, we didn't bring our 3 good engines. We know what they'll do. They were talking about 3 other engines. So, in other words, they thought they were just fine. But now it's time to show it, and we're going to find out.
Airing the boat out, trying to find some speed. You saw walking back and forth here on the front straightaway into turn number 1. Brad, I thought the key last year for J. Michael here winning the Southern Cup, had a dynamite start in the 3rd section and a beautiful start in the final heat. That was key to victory.
Absolutely it was, and that start in the 3rd heat was even better than his start in the final. And I remember talking to him about it, and he said, yeah, I think I need to keep those timing marks because they really worked. I think his first lap was 149, Jeff. He jumped it up a little bit to 151.819. We'll see if he puts a little quicker one down this time.
Working through turn number 2, and Brad this time doesn't seem to be getting through there quite as nice as the last time around. You can kind of see the erratic boat ride. I think they're working on getting a little bit of air under it. Might be a different propeller they're trying. Might not be working too well with this hull as he climbs across the start-finish line buoy. J. Michael Kelly in the U8 Miss Tri-Cities. J. Michael was your driver's champion last year in the H1 Unlimited Series, and Brad, he got the bookend wins in Guntersville and San Diego.
Yeah, he sure did. And our fans that are watching this on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel, when he comes down to start-finish line here and across that line, what Jeff's talking about there, the boat is walking back and forth between the sponsons, and it's not getting a stable attitude. It's not a stable boat riding. As you can see him going up the backstretch, you can see that left sponson going up and coming down and splashing on the water. I'm sure they'll get that all straightened out. That's why these test sessions are so important, Jeff.
works off turn number 2. And Brad, we usually don't see this early on. Could it be a situation where they come right out of the box, maybe looking at a racing setup from past data from last year?
Could very well be. You never know quite what they're doing. And I think we're going to get a black flag now for J. Michael Kelly. I think they're going to send him back to the pit area. See if Mike gets radioed that it's time to head back, and I think that's what he's going to do. He is slowing down. So J. Michael Kelly, our defending champion here on Lake Guntersville, will take his beautiful U8 Speedster along the causeway and back over to a very, very crowded pit area. J. Michael Kelly, driver of the U8. Fast lap he had in that group was 153.764, 153.764. And for a moment, Jeff Ayler, it goes quiet here, but I don't think it's going to be quiet for very long. We are noticing, I don't know if you've paid attention, Jeff, but behind us, we've had some of our Grand Prix personnel show up here behind us in the form of radio personnel, etc. And that usually means we're going to get some GPs out on the water, and I'm told now we've got 3 of them in the water that are ready to go. So if you like noise, Jeff, and I know you do, you get that crank 'em up thing going on here, because here comes some Grand Prix America hydroplanes.
A welcome addition back to Guntersville, the Grand Prix America Hydroplane Series presented by Knighton Industries. And Brad, you and I both know it's the second largest hydroplane class in the world. The GPA boats, 24-foot length, 12-foot width, all powered by a 468 cubic inch supercharged engine. Generates 1,400 horsepower. Racing trim with the driver inside is 2,700 pounds. And Brad, they will run the shorter track along with our E350s, the Pro Lights with their sponsor Phenom Digital. So we'll see the GPAs out here in just a matter of moments in testing only. And Brad, their course inside the bigger course is 1 mile and 2/3.
Yep, that's exactly right. 1 mile and 2/3. You will see the course and how it lays out. We've got a couple of buoys that are tied together here at about the 2/3 mark down the front straightaway. That will be the entrance pin for our Grand Prix hydroplanes. And then up the lake from our start-finish line, there's another double buoy up there. That'll be their exit pin. And quite candidly, Jeff, I would tell you the color of those buoys if I knew what they are, because they're colored some specific thing. But I guess everybody knows by now I'm colorblind as a bat. I haven't got a clue.
Well, our fans along the shoreline and watching with us at H1 Unlimited via YouTube, the start-finish line right here in front of us, the 2 large white buoys, start-finish line for all 3 classes here this weekend. And to our right, you'll see a double marker, green and orange. That will be the entrance pin for turn number 1 on the 1 mile and 2/3 track. In there is 3 green buoys you have to go around, then they'll see an orange buoy on the back chute for the exit pin. They'll blister up the back straightaway. They'll see another double colored buoy, green and orange. That will be the entrance pin to turn number 2. Circle around 3 green buoys. The orange buoy just to the left of the start-finish line buoy is the exit pin for the 1 mile and 2/3 course here at Lake Guntersville. Up next, Grand Prix America testing presented by Knighton Industries. 9-boat field here this weekend for the GPAs. Participating will be the GP12 local sponsor Wilkes Tire and Battery Service. Also on board with the 12 team is Advantage Pest Controls. Austin Ekert is the driver out of Seattle, Washington. GP14 EMS presents Legacy 1. Brandon Kennedy, the driver out of Newark, Delaware. Local sponsor on GP15, it's the Southern Elite Realty. Foodland Plus, Greg Hop pilots out of Lake Stevens, Washington. International flavor with the next boat out of Waverly, New Zealand. Jack Lupton drives GP33, Lupton Motorsports. Next boat is the GP35 TM Special, driven by Bobby Kennedy out of Fenton, Michigan. The owners, Ron and Sandy Thompson, out of Bel Air, Maryland. Next boat on the list that Brad Luce likes is the GP50 Freedom, owner-driver Ken Brody out of Grand Island, New York. GP 79, the Bad Influence, Jeff Bernard will drive out of Kent, Washington. The owner, Mike Grindell, out of Webster, Massachusetts. GP 525 is the Reliable Diamond 2, presents Fat Chance Racing. Tom Thompson, chauffeurs out of Cambridge, Maryland. And the ninth boat in the GPA field here at Guntersville will be the Lucas Oil GP 577 with Ken Lupton piloting out of Waverly, New Zealand. First boat out, just off turn number 2. This is the 525. Reliable Diamond Tool presents Fat Chance Racing. Tom Thompson in the cockpit. You've seen Tom run here at the Lake Guntersville Hydrofest before in the unlimited class, driving the U11. And you'll get an idea of where that turn number 1 will be on our mile and 2/3 course here at Lake Guntersville for the GPAs. So Thompson exits a corner. Nice mile and 2/3 course cut out here for the Grand Prix America boats. Testing for GPAs here at Lake Guntersville at the Gold Cup. Opens it up, get a sound of that thunder here along the shoreline at Lake Guntersville for our fans attending on Free Friday at Lake Guntersville. This testing session for all 3 classes scheduled to have the water from 2 until 5 Central Time here in Northeast Alabama. Thompson looking pretty good on this warm-up lap after going around at a conservative pace on the warm-up lap, and the Reliable Diamond Tool presents Fat Chance Racing. Brad Tom Thompson on the track. Reliable Diamond Tool presents Fat Chance Racing. And boy, when you look at this boat, Tom Thompson, the driver, Randy English in there working on the engines and the hull. The owners, Joan English, Royce and Kathy Richards, just breeds history and heritage of APBA inboard racing. Great team, great combination, and so far, Tom looking good here in the test session. They've had troubles the past 2 or 3 seasons and looking to iron things out with this 525.
Yeah, he was popping a little bit on his first lap as he was just warming up, but he seems to have that kind of cleaned out. The boat looks real good, and as you know, Tom Thompson, you give him an open lane, you better look out, because if his boat will respond, as I like to say, you're going to spend a lot of time driving around Tom Thompson. I like that one.
Tom Thompson heading back to the pit area in the Reliable Diamond Tool presents Fat Chance Racing. Next boat out on the track, the Chartreuse Royal Blue and some silver. This boat is one to watch this weekend. It is the GP14 EMS presents Legacy One. Brandon Kennedy, a 4th generation pilot, and Brandon has lost the course. Brandon lost the course. He should have turned right there in turn number 1, so I'm sure the officials will get with Brandon on that. Brandon out of Newark, Delaware. One to watch, Brad, but hopefully he'll remember to he might be going back into the pits too.
He might be going back to the pit area, but quite honestly, I don't think so. And it's his first time here on this course. You gotta there's a lot of buoys out there, Jeff. And I just might not be the only colorblind guy here. There's a lot of buoys out here, and here comes another one of my good buddies, anxious to see this guy run.
Rookie pilot in Grand Prix America. It's awesome. Austin Egret out of Seattle, Washington, driving for Bob Shellhays in the GP12. Local sponsor this weekend, Brad Wilkes Tire and Battery Service. Also on board, Advantage Pest Solutions. And We've seen Austin Egret cut his teeth in 2.5 stock, and now he jumps up to the GP series, but I think he's a well-capable shoe of handling top-notch hydroplane boats.
Absolutely. Austin Egret as Brandon Kennedy runs hard across. We'll see if Brandon makes the turn at the right putt, and I think he likes that big course. He's going down to the bottom end of the race course again. You talk about 2.5 liter stocks and Austin Egret and what he's done out in Region 10. This kid can really drive, Jeff.
Now we want to watch this here for our fans watching on H1 Unlimited via YouTube. Okay, Brandon got through there pretty quick, Brad. I was kind of worried about some wake activity as Egret works through turn 1. So 2 boats on the course here and testing only for Grand Prix America. Brandon Kennedy off turn number 2. We'll see if the radio man gets communication inside the cockpit. You're going too far to the right.
So Brandon went all the way down again. There's some puzzled looks on some of the faces of the radio guys. There's some confusion on the race course. Now watch Austin Egret, see if Austin turns right. Austin goes well beyond the entrance buoy and turns late. And Brandon Kennedy is headed back to the pit area. We were focusing so much on where he was actually turning and exactly where the race course was on his mile and 2/3 course, Jeff. But Brandon Kennedy, this kid, I keep saying that day is coming, and it's coming sooner as opposed to later. He's going to be driving that H1 Unlimited.
So talented out of Delaware, and his dad, George Kennedy Jr., dynamite inboard pilot in his days, and Brandon could handle an H1 Unlimited in fine fashion, but Brad, as you and I both know, those seats are very precious to get into H1, but boy, if he can ever get in one, look out.
Yeah, absolutely. He is going to be a name that you're going to hear about. And I actually think, Jeff, this Austin Egret is somebody as well. And he just stepped up to the Grand Prix class. He got his first ride in a GP America hydroplane at the Tri-Cities test session, and he just handled it like he'd been driving them for years. He was very cool, calm, and collected when he came back in. I said, "How was it?" He goes, "It was fun. I'm ready to go." And he's going to be a good one.
Without a doubt, he loves boat racing. Of course, his full-time position is with Blue Origin out in the Seattle area. Of course, the rocket division for Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, and Austin Egret moving up to GPA here in 2022 for owner Bob Shell-Hayes. Brad, these boats well capable of doing up to 170 miles per hour. Think competition shoot speeds here at the end of each shoot, 135, 140, 145. You get 4 or 5 of these out here on this mile and 2/3 track. It can get lumpy pretty quick, and that driver needs to be savvy to work that craft over the rollers in fine fashion.
It can also get mighty loud. And that's what the fans like, Jeff. We hear it all the time. You know, they want the noise. Well, those are the boys with the noise, and it's going to be an awful lot of fun. Jeff, I'm going to take this opportunity for the two of us to step away from the microphone for just a minute. We're going to take a break. You are watching the H1 Unlimited YouTube network. It is live coverage of the 2022 APBA Gold Cup, the oldest active motorsports trophy in the world. This is Brad Luce along with Jeff Ayler. We'll come back on as soon as we have another hydroplane on the water. And Jeff, I don't think it's going to be very long.
I hope not. Let's crank them up.
That's what Jeff wants to do. We'll be back in just a moment. Back here on the shores of beautiful Lake Guntersville in Guntersville, Alabama, this is Brad Luce along with Jeff Ayler. You're watching the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel, our live stream of the action here from Guntersville. It's the 2022 APBA Gold Cup, the oldest active motorsports trophy in the world. But Jeff Ayler, right now, we've got some testing on the water with our Grand Prix America hydroplanes. I look across the lake, we got a couple of boats coming.
2 boats coming out. The first entering turn number 2 once they get on the race course is Jack Lupton out of Waverly, New Zealand, and the Lupton Motorsports brand new boat, the GP33, built by Bert Henderson out of Brockville, Ontario, Canada. That's Lupton in 33. Right now about the apex of turn number 2. And Brad, the second boat you have loved for many years at Detroit. It's the beautifully painted red, white, and blue Freedom. Ken Brody, the owner-driver out of Grand Island, New York. And someday, Brody will win when you're in attendance. It could be this weekend. This is a hot boat.
It could very well be. The first time I ever saw him drive this was some of the best racing I'd ever seen. You and I had a ball calling his heat, and I said, I like this guy. I like this boat. He's won on this circuit before, but never when I've been watching. So we'll watch this weekend, see if maybe he can make it happen. Oh, Mike Weber.
Well, first error of the weekend, the boat on the back chute, that's the 577, Ken Lupton.
Okay.
And Lucas Oil, my apologies to the Kiwis. Got some bad information with the boats coming out. But that's Ken Lupton on the back chute. And Brad, we worked the 2019 Metro Detroit Chevy Dealers inboard race, and Ken Lupton, we saw he's a super pilot in Grand Prix. He jumped the gun in the President's Cup, which cost him that win of that prestigious trophy.
Yeah, he sure did. But anybody who didn't know who he was, by the end of the weekend, you knew who Ken Lupton was. Very experienced shoe. As you know, too, we've lost some of our Grand Prix America hydroplanes as Ken Brody rips across start finish, and I still like that boat, Jeff. He's going to be tough this weekend. But back to Mr. Lupton. The field that we have here got whittled down just a little bit, but the boats we've got here this weekend are something spectacular.
9-boat field here in Grand Prix America, presented by Knighton Industries. And Brad, by my handicapping, I looked down this list, I could see any one of up to 6, maybe 7 boats with a chance to win the Southern Nationals here in GPA. It's wide open field. It
is a wide open field, and that's why we go to boat races. Yeah, you can draw them out of a hat. You can think so-and-so is going to win, etc., but you got to go out and do it on the water. And the fans here in Guntersville, I honestly think, Jeff, are going to see maybe the best racing they've ever seen.
I believe so, Brad. In all 3 classes, the Pro Lights, the 350s with their sponsor, Phenom Digital, they got a very competitive class here this weekend. But this is a very important time for the GPAs, this testing session. Very rare now do you see them on a 1 2/3 track. They want to make certain that all the setups are right, and plus an opportunity to get the boat out on the water, get a feel like Guntersville.
Yep, you see Mr. Lupton making a hard run through the top end of the race course. Boy, he got to start-finish line, just hammered it, Jeff.
A little snuff in that one. Goodness.
Bet. Oh, he's got the course to himself now. If he wants to let her rip, he can let it fly, and look at him go.
This guy can drive out of New Zealand, Waverly, New Zealand. Ken Lupton, Lucas Oil, working up into turn number 2.
Yeah, we got some strong accents here this weekend. We might have some fun doing some interviews with these guys, but they're having a ball, and we're really glad they're here.
And Brad, when the GPA is going to racing activity, they will have assigned lanes, and we will check with Chief Referee Don Malello with this 1 2/3 course. I'm going to say 3-lap heats, but we will double check that before we go into racing activity tomorrow and Sunday as the GPAs run for the Southern Nationals on the South's fastest water.
I was told 3 laps this morning. We will confirm when we go racing. We'll have it all figured out. And I can tell you one of the fun things that we're already seeing here You and I have tried twice to go through the schedule for the weekend, but there's been so darn much activity on the water we can't get to it. That's a good thing.
I think we need to do it. Let's just start from the top.
Let's take it all the way from the top. Gates open tomorrow morning to the public, the official start of the 2022 APBA Gold Cup. They open at 8 o'clock. You'll be here, Jeff. I'll be. The microphones will get fired up. We're going to have H1 Unlimiteds on the water for a 2-hour test session.
And fans watching on H1 Unlimited via YouTube, a first happened here with Brad and I, and it's a colorful thing. Joking aside, I am actually supposed to arrive later than you tomorrow, which is a first in all the races we've ever worked.
That is absolutely a true statement. I have never gotten to a race course before, Jeff Ayler. There's a little bit of a funny anecdote there. It happened in Detroit, Michigan one year. Jeff, I'm sure, can tell you the year, but when we pulled into the parking lot at Bill Muncie Park at the Detroit River for the APBA Gold Cup, our headlights were still on, and we had to have them on because we couldn't see security people that were supposed to be there for the day. They hadn't even shown up yet. There was some nighttime personnel there, looked at us like we had two heads. What are you guys doing here? And Jeff started apologizing. It was pitch dark when we got there.
Sorry, Brian.
Sorry. So we got some 350s coming up soon, but let's go down to the next step here. We have our H1 Unlimited testing. That'll take place from 8 to 10. Then I'm going to step away from the microphone a little bit before 10 o'clock. Jeff, I'm going to let you take the last few minutes of that qualifying because we're going to have our official opening ceremonies. That will take place right here at the main stage at start-finish line. We've got some terrific personalities. We're going to have some special folks here, but it'll run 15 minutes. We're going to officially open the event from 10 to 10:15. Then at 10:15, something I know you will enjoy, Jeff Ayler, we're going to bring out the Miss US 4, the U-36. It is absolutely a beautiful craft. You've seen it many times. The folks are really in for a treat with this one.
Oh, no doubt. The Henry Lauterbach designed and built boat back in 1957, campaigned by George Simon out of Detroit with the U.S. Equipment Company. That boat is here this weekend, Brad, to give exhibition runs, to give a flavor of what happened here 60 years ago on April 17th, 1962, the actual propeller-driven, piston-powered world record holder in the mile straightaway run is right behind us. Roy Doobie set that record here on Lake Guntersville at 200.419 miles per hour, a record that stands to this day with a piston-powered boat in the mile trap.
Yeah, and you and I are going to spend a lot of time and talk about that particular record because there are a couple of extenuating circumstances that occurred during that mile run that mile record could conceivably still stand today. Had a couple of strange things not happen that day, but we'll get into it. Something about fans tripping over an extension cord and unplugging the timer's clock. And they lost what arguably was their fastest run of the three. It didn't count because they didn't have the timing.
You did remarkable research on it. One part of it that tickled me, it was kind of a rainy, hazy morning, and Roy Doobie was losing sight of the trap to keep the Miss US in line to set the record. And one time he said, I got lost. I thought I was going down to Guntersville.
I tell you what, his trap or his course that he ran was 9 miles long. He had a 4-mile in run, a 1-mile run through the traps, and a 4-mile out run. We've got our 350s coming underneath the causeway. I can tell you, Jeff, that is a new sight that we've never seen before.
Pro Lights coming out, their sponsor, Phenom Digital. Also, too, support from RSTZ Transport. The Pro Lights, the 350s coming out in testing. And Brad, we got a great field here this weekend of the Pro Lights. And we'll ID the boats when they come by the start-finish line the first time. And Brad, it's going to be a unique twist when we go racing with the Pro Lights. They're going to have an unusual 6-minute gun because their pit area is on the other side of the bridge. They have to bolt up to the causeway, but boy, what a spectacular sight coming out of the causeway. Look like a couple of Chevrolets got a free car wash there when they come through.
Well, we've got 3 boats out here on the course right now, And when we were talking to some of the drivers, they mentioned that 6-minute clock. But when that 6-minute fires, they're going to be on the other side of the causeway. And I was wondering just how the progression goes underneath the bridge there. We got our good buddy Steve Huff, who goes across first in his faster than cancer hydroplane E98 out of the SeaTac area of Seattle, Washington.
The Faster Than Cancer Foundation. Steve Huff, you mentioned Brad. Steve battled cancer. He's beat it. And boy, what a spokesman for cancer. He's doing events here in the local area after the event. And quite the gentleman, quite the racer, but he races everything. Dragsters. He has a record in an electric-powered dragster at over 200 miles per hour. That's getting it.
That is getting it and getting it on. And he is, you mentioned what a great spokesperson he is, and it's the fight against cancer, and he beat it and so forth. He is a great spokesman for hydroplane racing, and he's a terrific guy. And I don't know if you've ever interviewed him, Jeff, but all you got to do is put the mic in front of him, and you might as well go have a sandwich. He'll talk for a while.
He's kind of got that Steve David twist in interviews and Pro Light. Just a wonderful gentleman and can speak real well. Great guy on the Pro Light circuit. Steve Huff. Second boat in turn number 1 at the apex, the little burgundy reddish color with the white. That's the Bow's Back. Boat owned by veteran Wheeler Baker out of Chester, Maryland. And in the cockpit this weekend, subbing for Scott Liddicoat is Jimmy King, the driver of the Turbinator in the Unlimited.
He's going to be one of those drivers doing double duty, and we've got a couple of them here, so he'll be busy. But always good when you have Jimmy King out on the water. If there's something to be got out of a hydroplane on a race course, that young man will find it.
Spoke to Jimmy this morning. I talked to him more about the 350 and the Unlimited, and he said, Jeff, what a treat to drive for Wheeler Baker here in 350. He was going back when Jimmy got his teeth cut in APBA inboard racing, talking about Wheeler's Baker's Dozen in the 7-liter division back in the day. A phenomenal boat in APBA inboard hydroplane racing. Jimmy tickled here driving for Wheeler Baker in the Bow's Back.
The Bow's Back, I like that name. I also like Steve Huff, the boat, as we were just talking about. Steve, he ran real hard here for a couple of laps. The boat looked real good. These 350s are going to be competitive. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Third boat we've not mentioned by the start-finish line buoy right now. The dominant orange with the checkered flag effect on each sponson on the decking. That is the 879 Bad Influence. Mike Grindell, the owner, out of Webster, Massachusetts. And Brad, great to see Patrick Howarth in the cockpit out of Valleyfield, Quebec, Canada. Great gentleman, fierce competitor on the water as Patrick Howarth, takes no prisoners.
No, he doesn't take any prisoners, and he doesn't take to the water unless he is going out with one mission, and that is to win. He wants to win every single time. Couldn't get a better guy to sit behind the wheel of a hydroplane regardless of the class. Patrick Howarth, he's a good one, and we're going to have a little fun here at the top end of the race course with Howarth on the outside. That's Huff on the inside. Oh, Jeff, we're going to have fun this weekend.
It's going to be great. The Pro Lights presented by Phenom Digital. Brad, these boats, 20-foot length, 10-foot width, racing trim with the pilot inside, about 1,500 pounds. All boats powered by the 350 cubic inch engine, generating around 400 horsepower. Shoot speeds, we can get up to about 130, but in competition here at Lake Guntersville at the end of each shoot, looking at about the 105, 110, 115 clip. They'll have assigned lanes as well, like the Grand Prix America hydroplanes. But Brad, we've seen it before with this 350 division. It is so competitive, and nailing starts is key to checkered flags. Brad making a notation here on a craft, and he'll rejoin us here momentarily on the broadcast as you're watching live on H1 Unlimited at YouTube here at the Lake Guntersville Hydrofest. It's the 2022 APBA Gold Cup for the H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Series, as we're in Pro Light testing right now. And after the Pro Lights, it is my understanding that we will go back to more testing with the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes. Oh, are you out there, Mr. Godell? Dylan's driving the Miss General RV. Thank you. There's Dylan right there, Brad, just to the outside of Mr. Huff and Dylan Godell out of Allen Park, Michigan. Dylan's been inspirational getting this Pro Light Series going. Brad, we've seen Dylan drive in Detroit for a few years. Relatively new to the sport, but does a good job out on the race course in the Miss General RV. And also, too, the veteran Mike Horvath might get a crack in the number 40 this weekend out of Michigan.
Yeah, glad to have them here and helping fill out the field, but they're doing a whole lot more than just filling out the field. As we keep saying over and over, it's a broken record, but this is so competitive. We talked about it on the H1 side, the GP side, and these 350s. Fans are going to learn to like this Pro Light Series. They're going to like it a lot.
So Patrick Howard, boy, Steve Huff's put a lot of laps out here in testing, and my apologies, there's Dylan Godell in the Miss General RV. I'm anxious to see how this 6-minute clock works.
I'm anxious to see how our two drivers down at the far end are going to find the opening in the causeway. There might be some nervous cars coming across the causeway there, but you'll watch them square up and they'll go right straight through it.
Very unusual for hydroplane drivers entering the course and returning. You have to follow the rules of the no wake zone or you'll get ticketed.
Dylan Godell now finds himself alone on the race course in his E40 Miss General RV. Got the water to himself, and again, Jeff, water conditions absolutely perfect.
Beautiful day here in Guntersville. Of course, it's hot and humid. We don't expect anything different the last weekend of June of 2022 here at the Lake Guntersville Hydrofest as Dylan Slows coming across the start-finish line buoy. And Brad, the orchestrator of this event, Katie Norton with her husband David and all their volunteers. The hospitality here in Guntersville is off the charts, and once again we're expecting a fabulous weekend of hydroplane racing here at Lake Guntersville.
Well, as you know, Jeff, we coined a phrase a number of years ago when we were talking about Southern hospitality, and when you come to Guntersville, it's something special. And the phrase got coined that there is Southern hospitality, but then there's Guntersville hospitality, and it's just a cut above, and it really, really is true.
And our friend Ted Grange
came up with
that moniker.
He was the man who said it, so we'll give him credit, but it is so very, very true. I've been in town now for 3 days, and we have met so many wonderful people, and we say it all the time, you know, people come up to you on the street, they recognize as soon as we open our mouth that I don't live here. And so they figure, oh, you must be here with boat racing, and what can I do to help you? Do you need directions? Do you need a good place to eat? Do you need this? Do you need... It's really something special, and we love it, and that's why we come back.
They don't do that with me.
No, they don't, because you talk funny.
They said you from Albertville?
Or Arab.
Arab.
Arab. I'm learning how to say these towns. I'm going to get them straight.
Where'd we leave off on our Saturday schedule?
I don't know. We got through with the Miss US again.
We keep getting interrupted with activity on the water, which is spectacular. 10:30 tomorrow. All these times are Central Time if you're watching the streaming via H1 Unlimited through YouTube. 10:30 will be Motorola Systems Grand Prix Heat 1A. At 11 o'clock, that'll be followed by Marshall Precision Manufacturing Pro Light 1A. 11:30 will be American Dumpster Unlimited Heat 1A. And Brad, then at 12 o'clock will be the WQSB Pro Light 1B. Then we'll take a little break.
Take a break on the water from 12:30 until 1:30. And then immediately at 1:30, we'll go racing again with our American Dumpster Unlimited Heat 1B. And that'll be followed at 2 o'clock by the Randy Jones and Associates Pro Light Heat 2A. And Jeff, we got more action out on the water. We have another boat that has successfully negotiated the causeway and is coming up the backstretch.
We got to finish this schedule. 2:15.
We do. We got to get it done before it's over.
Motorola Systems Grand Prix 1B, 2:45. Restoration Homes of North Alabama Pro Light 2B at 3 o'clock. Motorola Systems Grand Prix 1C. And Brad, the remainder of the card starting at 3:30 is...
At 3:30, the Marshall County Tourism and Sports Unlimited Heat 2A. Then we're going to have that Miss US 4. The U36 will be back out on the water, followed by Marshall County Tourism and Sports again, Unlimited 2B. And Jeff, finally then, at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, the gates are going to close and you and I get to take a break.
Oh, that's right. But boy, it's going to be a action-packed day of activity here at the 2022 Lake Guntersville Hydrofest as the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes vie for the American Powerboat Association Gold Cup, the oldest active motorsports trophy in the world. The Grand Prix America Hydroplanes will vie for the Southern Nationals, and the Pro Lights looking for the trophy here in the Phenom Digital Pro Light Hydroplane Series. Brad, out on the track, and a boat we like in Detroit in 2019, Paul Barber in EMS presents Legacy One. Paul, north of the border from Ottawa, Canada.
EMS presents Legacy One, one of the more colorful hydroplanes. I really like this one on the water. It is a good boat. It is fast. The owner, Richard Hearn from North Webster, Indiana. They got themselves a rocket here. We had 3 of the boats out. Oh, we got another boat up the backstretch too. We've got a full field of boats here.
And the second boat that came out appears to be the teammate boat of this one. It's the E14, the Hearn Motorsports, driven by Donnie Allen out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Richard Hearn, the owner, out of North Webster, Indiana, as Brad mentioned. So teammate boats out on the track. Thank you, Richard and team, for a little different color scheme, using the same colors on both to give the old guys a little chance to ID the correct one.
That would be me. I'm going to fall in that category as Donnie Allen comes across the start-finish line, and you're right. Same colors, slightly different scheme. Once you figure it out, you've got these boats figured. One of our boats is headed back to the pit area, but the 14 Hearn Motorsports, Donnie Allen, he is going to stay out, and all of a sudden, and just like that, he's got the race course to himself, and he's going to find beautiful water. Lake Guntersville, what a venue. Jeff, you came down here for the first time last year. I was telling you, you got to get down here, dude. This is good.
You were absolutely correct, and I'm coming back and coming back and coming back because I think Katie Norton's got an ace in the hole here with hydroplane activity at Lake Guntersville. Great event, great staff. Donnie Allen working through turn 2, and Brad, the Pro Light field is deep as well. This boat's one to watch. We saw Donnie Allen in Detroit 3 years ago, and this guy can drive. He
really can, and he was one of my favorites. I did not know him nor the boat when I first saw him run up there in Detroit, Michigan on the Detroit River. But he handled the boat very, very well. You see him strong through the lower corner. He's a good one. Look for this one to be pushing his nose out front.
Donnie Allen off turn number 1 in the Hearn Motorsports E14.
He from the famous town of Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Little airplane activity takes place there every year in Oshkosh. Boy, it's a beautiful turn, Brad, off that turn. Painting them buoys a la Bill Muncie.
Doing a fine job. Shortest way around. Boy, and the boat's not missing a beat, and he's got a really solid boat ride.
Sounds well. Entering turn number 1, Donnie Allen, Hearn Motorsports, putting, I believe this is his 3rd time around. Pretty good hot lap here. Works through turn number 1 nicely. Smooth boat ride down the back straightaway. Brad, the wind this afternoon, very light, very slight. Water conditions ideal, and you can tell when you get 2-3 out here, it ripples it up. The drivers like that.
They do. We were talking about that earlier. Sometimes the water can get too smooth, and it can be actually sticky. And the boats, it's hard for them to break loose from the water. And of course, anytime they're making contact with the water, that's drag. That will slow them down. They like to get up out of the water a little bit and float on that cushion of air. As Donnie Allen from the great state of Wisconsin, I think, is slowing down and going to head back to the pit area. Again, a shout out to the tremendous work by Katie Norton and her crew, and certainly husband David Norton for pulling this whole thing together. Donnie Allen's not going to go back just yet. But what they had to do to shoehorn all these boats into a pit area, there's a lot of hydroplanes here. We've got 2 pit areas. We've got pit 1 and pit 2. The 350s are coming out as we've been talking on the other side of the causeway. I haven't yet been across the water to the other side, but I have to think that's wall-to-wall hydroplanes and trucks and equipment over there.
It is, Brad. Nice job. David Norton was over earlier helping orchestrate the hydroplane parking activity in the pit area. Done a fantastic job. But, boy, back to this morning, the meet and greet out at the park and the parade coming in. There's so many different facets they do here to promote the sport of hydroplane racing, and they've got it pinpointed in perfect fashion. They do a great job.
They really do, and as we were talking earlier, every year they step it up a notch. They do something different. They just make it a little bit better, and 2022 is no exception to that. The only thing I know for sure, Jeff, is come next year, 2023, it's going to be better even than this one. Last year, when the race was over, we were talking to the chairman of the event, Philip Mosley. And he came up to me right after the event, and he says, Brad, I know you see these races across the country. What can we do to make our event better? And I went, wow. I said, I'm really going to have to think about that. I said, but one thing you don't do, don't stop that parade through town, because that is something special. And the shop owners and everybody out there, and horns honking and blaring in little downtown Guntersville. You haven't seen it, you got to do it sometime and watch the teams go through. It is really special.
Yeah, I experienced that for the first time this morning. It was really cool, and lots of folks parked in Guntersville saluting the hydroplane teams going by. And great job by Katie Norton and her team with the meet and greet and the parade through town to the pit area for the hydroplanes. The pro lights, of course, down to our right, just past the bridge. And the H1 Unlimiteds and GPAs over, what is that, about 1 7/8 miles? That's a good track.
Works for me. They're having a little fun with me over here, Jeff. Now, I know you do it right, and I have issues with this. As I said a little bit earlier, if I open my mouth down here, everybody knows this isn't home. And when I checked into the hotel when we first got here, I recognized the faces of our friendly host and hostesses back there. They weren't going to give me a room key until I proved that I knew how to say the name of this town. And I had been taught a year before that there is no T, it's Guntersville. And then I learned before they gave me the key to the room, it's Guntersville. So Guntersville. Guntersville, you're wonderful, however you pronounce it, and I just had a sign held up in front of me, and there was a big X right through the T in Guntersville.
Oh, no. I kind of like getting that T in there, Lake Guntersville.
Yeah, well, if you already got the key to your room, because if you don't, you might want to change that until you get it.
Brad, we've got more Grand Prix America boats presented by Knighton Industries coming out for testing here at Lake Guntersville. In Guntersville, Alabama. And boy, it's going to be neat tomorrow to see the Miss US 4 out on the water. First time it has appeared here on this body of water, stock Allison engine. And we'll be celebrating and remembering, as we talked about earlier, Brad, the world record set here in the mile run and kilometer back on April 17, 1962. Roy Doobie in the Miss US. And, you know, Roy was mainly known for being a mechanic and not a driver, but, boy, he shooed that one well on April 17 of 62.
Yeah, he sure did. You know, they actually came to Madison, Indiana right around Thanksgiving and were maybe going to try and make the run there, but they couldn't get a long enough straight body of water. We got Bernard, we got Lupton, and we got Hopper out on the water.
We got Jeff Bernard, Bad Influence, Jack Lupton and Lupton Motorsports, and Greg Hopp in the locally sponsored Southern Elite Realty Foodland Plus, and Brad, that yellow boat entering turn number 1. They also have the Happy Go Lucky name in memory of Bill and Happy Rands, but also, too, they picked up a contingency sponsor from Bardall.
Yeah, you got to like a Bardall sticker on a hydroplane, especially here in Guntersville. The Bardol name was big in Unlimiteds back in the 60s when the boats were running here.
Boy, Bernard already on the hammer in the bad influence. Crew chief of the boat is his uncle, Mike Weber. Brad, they ran in Quebec a couple of weekends ago in the HRL series. It was like a glorified testing session for this team. They look serious for a Southern National title.
Yeah, they really do. They look real serious. Look at Greg Hopp open up that bright yellow hull. And boy, if you like a little bit of nostalgia, I know you can go back to the days of the Alamo and Bo Scheid driving that low-profile Jamie Auld hull. Oh, man, that was the boat to beat back in the day.
Oh, my, Bo Scheid and the Alamo owned by Ned Allen. And these boats of today built with this composite material, Brad, the older vintages, they can hang on as long as they're maintained well, and this one has been. It's been a sweetheart. And matter of fact, you saw that yellow boat win the season finale in San Diego last year.
We did indeed.
And Bernard is the defending champion in GPA with the Bad Influence team.
Yeah, he sure is. You're talking about the fact that I watched this boat down in San Diego pick up a victory. Jeff, as you know, I retired a few years ago. But when you talk about that yellow hull and Greg Hopp, if I had $1 for every time I watched that boat win a race or a heat of racing, I could have retired 10 years ago. That boat just flat gets it done, and it's a good one.
I wish I had those dollars the way the market's turning right now, so hopefully I'll twist that back around to the upside. But Jack Lupton's still out here in Lupton Motorsports. And Brad, this is a brand new boat, the GP33, built by Bert Henderson out of Brockville, Ontario, Canada. This craft is running the first GPA, or the first 2 HRL races this year at Cambridge, Maryland, and also 2 in Quebec a couple of weekends ago. Lupton looking good out on the track here in Lupton Motorsports as we're about to wrap up our testing with the Grand Prix America hydroplanes presented by Knighton Industries. Lupton through turn number 2. Brad stepped away there momentarily. All right, fast Eddie Canfouche. Nice body of water here at Lake Guntersville. The GPs and the 350 should handle this 1 2/3 miles in a good fashion, I think. A little bit longer course for them, but this water's really forgiving.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. There's really not much of a breeze out here at all. And I mean, glass when there's nobody out there. And even when there are boats out there, it's not really that choppy. So we should see some really fast speeds this weekend from every class.
Well, looks like we have another one come out, and we'll see which one that is. We'll ID it here through the turn. No, it's Greg Hopp still out there in the 35. Thank you, Eddie. That's the TM Special. Bobby Kennedy, the driver out of Fenton, Michigan, driving for Ron and Sandy Thompson out of Bel Air, Maryland. And boy, Lupton still putting it to it. And Eddie, even though it's testing right now, the drivers, this is a good opportunity for the GP and 350 guys to get their savviness, check the spots out on the track for them timing runs to go racing Saturday and Sunday.
Those are very, very important. I mean, in fields like the GPs and the 350s where it's as tight as it is, you definitely need to be on your start. That's going to be the most important point in the race. So making sure you have your timing marks down pat is going to be crucial if you want to take the win on Sunday.
We see Bobby Kennedy already going back into the pit area in the GP35 TM Special with their associates. No, I'm sorry, that was Jack Lupton going in. There's Kennedy by us right now in the TM Special. Their associate sponsor, Sherwin-Williams and Reliable Diamond Tool. And Eddie, this is a deep field in GPA. This 35 is one to watch. I think lane 1 or 2 sequence could be tough.
Absolutely. Now, the 35, especially with a driver like Bobby Kennedy, is definitely going to be gunning for the inside. And once he's there, he's definitely going to be a tough competitor. But really, the field is so deep. Almost any one of these boats can win this race this weekend.
So Kennedy on the track for the first time this weekend in testing in the TM Special. GP35. For our fans watching at home via H1 Unlimited through YouTube, Eddie, this boat started out with as a Rolling Thunder with the Jersey Speed Skiff veteran pilot Tom Packarduni in the seat, and Ron and Sandy Thompson has continued on with this boat and continues to run well.
Absolutely. That boat's been fast ever since it was built in, I believe, 2013 was the year. Tom Packarduni ran it very well in the HRL series, and then the Thompsons bought it, and Mike Monahan drove it very well for quite a few years, and now Bobby Kennedy is starting to slowly take over that seat and just continuing the success of the team.
You do it all at your young age. You come in and help with color commentary with an old guy here on the microphone. You're a simulated hydroplane phenomenon, winning everything online, and now your driving career, you're even winning on the water. You're off to a great start.
I definitely think so. I've been very fortunate to step in a very good boat prepared by the Senseless Race team, Don Les, Ken Brody. That entire group is fantastic, and the boat they've given me is really something special. So going out and running as well as I can has led to some early success, and hopefully it continues.
Has to be neat driving for the Brodies, a name so synonymous in the inboard division. They're well respected.
Absolutely. The Brody name and the Les name both. Several generations at this point, lots of success over their entire career in the sport, and they're also pretty close to home, so I get to go help out, work on the boats when I can, and it's a very, very good opportunity for me, so I need to take advantage of it while I can.
Eddie, thank you for joining us. Continued your success on the water. Brad, I think you and I, if we happen to falter this weekend, Fast Eddie will take it over. You're the man.
Thank you very much.
Eddie Canfish joined us here at the start-finish line as you're watching testing activity here at day number 1 of 3 of the 2022 Lake Guntersville Hydrofest, as the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes will run for this weekend's 112th APBA Gold Cup. The Grand Prix America Hydroplanes, presented by Knight & Industries, will run for the Southern Nationals and the Pro Light Championship with Phenom Digital here this weekend. Brad will crown 3 winners late Sunday afternoon here on the South's fastest water.
Yeah, and that's what hydroplane racing is all about. Everything starts early in the weekend, and it just builds and builds, and you try and make your boat better and better as the weekend goes on. You try and accumulate points as the weekend goes on, because it all comes down to that final championship heat, and all 3 of our championship heats will be winner-take-all finals. Just had a sign tossed over that it's going to be bright orange, trimmed in black. Dave Villwalk coming across the water in the U40, the Beacon Plumbing. Beacon Plumbing, the boat owned by Kelly and Sharon Stockland. Dave Villwalk. Jeff, I don't know. I put some notes on the sheet there about Dave Villwalk. I could have written 2 books about him. The guy has literally done everything. And, oh, by the way, he's done it many, many times.
67 career wins, of course, on top of the all-time drivers win list in the H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. One record he's trying to tie and has escaped him for a few seasons is tying his friend and former driver when he was the chief wrench on the Circus, Chip Hanauer. 11 APBA Gold Cup wins. Villwalk would love to get win number 68, being 68 years of age here at the 112th Gold Cup, to get his 11th. And Brad, earlier today, he is penciled on our sheet as one to watch for a chance to win the gold.
Yeah, we've been saying that all 7 of them have a chance, and certainly he does. And there's been a lot of quiet smiling going on in that camp during the test sessions. I think they've got something for everybody, but we're going to find out. That's what that racing's all about. And, oh, by the way, that boat up there at the top end of the race course, they've always got something for everybody. That is the U1. That is the Miss HomeStreet. That is Jimmy Shane. So they're going to have something to say about who wins this event.
Shane's first time out on the water this weekend in the HomeStreet Blue and White U1 Miss HomeStreet, campaigned by Miss Madison Racing. Jimmy Shane, a native of Havre de Grace, Maryland, now residing in San Antonio, Texas. Brad, here comes Vilwalk by the start-finish line buoy. We'll get a time, and we'll see how these times look with two boats on the track at the same time.
Yeah, these are a couple of the absolute two hot dogs right out here. If you have to pick two of the quicker ones out of our group, I'm going to expect both of these guys are going to turn laps north of 160. We've already seen it out of the U40, and I'm telling you, we know this boat at the top end of the race course is capable of doing that. Jimmy Shane is capable of winning any event, any time in this particular hull. The boat was launched in 2018 at the Tri-Cities. It ran its first race in Seattle in 2018, and it's been a rocket ever since. It was 2019, the first race here of the season in Guntersville, where that Miss HomeStreet claimed the first victory. Now keep an eye on our Dave Vilwalk, see if we don't see some timing marks here.
Vilwalk had a hot lap there of 159.458 miles per hour. Working a little bit slower into turn number 2. We'll see if he elects to make a timing run. Brad, I'll go ahead and hit the watch right there. Not quite up to speed right yet. I'll stop it and restart it. We'll see if we can get something here off the exit pin. The U1 at 164.410 miles per hour. Blistering Lake Guntersville. Miss HomeStreet 164 and change. Look out.
Look out, and if he turns a quicker one this time, he's going to do it running in the wake of Dave Vilwalk. He actually is on the inside of Dave. Here comes Dave, here comes Jimmy. These two are going to hook up this weekend, Jeff, and it's going to be dynamite. Watch him down there in the corner. Dave's going to give him room. Jimmy's going to go through the rooster tail and slide to the outside, not try and do anything fancy there.
I'm not surprised Jimmy slowed, and I think he went in there a little hotter than I thought he would, and now you can see the U1 Miss HomeStreet is going down on ground idle, about to go dead in the water, and Brad, it looks like he's trying to point the nose of the boat right into the infield there.
Yep.
So some problems here. Might have gotten that wake, might have got that turbine engine wet, might have shut her down.
And we're going to find out right now if he's inside that buoy, but I believe there's not much question about that. I think he is inside the safety zone. I may take all that back right now. He is outside of the safety zone. Second lap for Jimmy Shane was 158.495, but that first one at 164, that was a beauty. And now here goes Jimmy. We'll see if he gets the boat re-spooled and heads back toward the pit area. It doesn't appear like that's what he's going to do, Jeff. I think he cleared it out and he's going to stay out.
And Brad, for our fans watching online at H1 Unlimited via YouTube, our seasoned fans, veteran watchers, followers of boat racing, that was a perfect example right there. If we'd been in racing activity, when the lead boat has controlled the course, Dave had those boat lengths, and if you're on the inside, and if a lane is not left there, you can get a little bit wet, and it does hurt.
It does hurt. It can cause you to do exactly what Jimmy Shane just did, which is have the fire go out and you have to relight the candle. Fast lap so far for Dave Vilwalk is 159.458. A tick under 160. He ran it earlier. Now Jimmy Shane's got the course all to himself. We'll see if he doesn't lay down a real hot one. Boy, talk about boat ride, Jeff. It just does not get any better than that.
This boat, ever since it debuted right out of the box, has been a sweetheart for Miss Madison Racing. Jimmy Shane, Miss HomeStreet. Shane, your defending Gold Cup champion, but driving the black and gold boat that's here this weekend. Won it in Madison, Indiana last year, and the Goodman Real Estate presents Miss HomeStreet back to his regular rocket ride in Miss Madison Racing. Lifted that left sponson up a little bit, but Brad, this boat is so forgiving, runs so well. It's a hot one.
It's a real hot one. We talk a lot about Jimmy Shane, but he is a six-time H1 Unlimited High Points champion. He's tied with Steve David for fourth on the list. If he were to win the national title this year, he'd tie for second place. And on that list, he'd tie some guy named Muncie and Hanauer, and that's pretty good company right there.
That is definitely good company, but Brad, Jimmy's lineage, his family, so synonymous in inboard hydroplane racing. His father, Stu, a champion in the inboard division, a one-time Hall of Champion inductee with Jim Kropfeld and John Prevost. Jimmy's mom, Robin, a champion, and his sister, Kelly, a champion as well. And inboard that last lap, 162.328. The Shanes like to win. They like championships.
And they're going to be down here this weekend watching Jimmy Shane try and go for Gold Cup number 6. I don't know on the live stream if in the foreground as Jimmy goes by here, if you're picking up that man with the white t-shirt and the blue shorts in the foreground who's watching the boat go by. Got a pretty good name in boat racing. That's George Simon Jr.
Oh, it's great that George Simon Jr. is here this weekend. He has brought down the world record holder, Miss US. George, thank you. You've got hydro fever, and we're so glad you're here this weekend, remembering 60 years of the world record set by that reciprocating engine, propeller-driven hydroplane.
Top end of the race course, Jimmy Shane. Now watch him hanging on the hook. That's a big wall of water that comes off that skid fin on the trailing edge of that left side sponson. Turn that last lap at 163.294. Jeff, that looks like 163, 163, 164. I think there's a word called consistent that sounds pretty good with those.
No doubt consistent. Shane by the start-finish line buoy once again in this testing session only for the H1 Unlimited hydroplanes. And Brad, I see over in the pit area we had a little smoker. I hope nothing is seriously wrong over there as Shane continues on the track in Miss HomeStreet. And you tabbed it perfectly. Consistency, everything over 160 except for that 158.4, and I think they're ready.
I think they're ready. A 158.4, and that was the slowest lap. Last one, 159.106. 159.106. Jimmy Shane driving the U1, the Miss HomeStreet. The boat is owned by the citizens of Madison, Indiana. I have to ask this question, Jeff. I do every time we're together, but you hail from Madison, Indiana. What part of that boat do you own?
It gets smaller and smaller every year we work together, Brad. I think this is our 11th Gold Cup we've worked together, and I'm real down now to just a smidgen. And it's just a little bit of flake of painting on the transom. And it could be just like a real small black dot with the initials RR inside of it.
And we know what RR stands for. Everybody who knows Jeff Ayler knows Rockers Ridge. In Madison, Indiana. Jeff, if we couldn't have fun with this, we wouldn't do it. The HomeStreet has headed back to the pit area. I am being informed that we may just see them. What do you got?
Well, speaking of the local community, talking about Roy Doobie, he married the local girl.
Here we go. Here comes the story.
From Manville.
From Manville. Go ahead. Tell the story.
Down Wolf Run, about 5 miles from Rikers Ridge. Opal Buchanan is who Roy Doobie married back in the day, and I got a funny feeling that Graham Heath and Hazel Heath had a little bit of twisting getting those two together, because Graham and Hazel did some running out in the ridge in Manville.
I tell you what, Jeff and I were on the phone here about 3 weeks ago, and he started down the road of that story, and I happened to be looking at a piece of paper here with some facts and figures on it, and the name Opal Buchanan just jumped off the page at me, and we got it.
We got it right here at the start-finish line buoy at the Lake Guntersville Hydrofest. Gold Cup, GPAs, Pro Lights. We're starting to kind of wind down here for day number 1. But, Brad, what a great effort by this race team and the race teams. Parking these boats. They were in a parade this morning. They're running this afternoon. Great job by everybody involved from letter A to Z.
Yeah, it really is, and I didn't get to see the parade through town this year. Our producer, Tana Morissette, and I last year got a front row seat for it, and we got to experience it and just how cool it was. But we had to get up here and get some shade for you and I, so we missed it. But while we were putting things up, we happened to look down toward the causeway, and every boat was just crawling going across the causeway. It was a great sight.
Neat stuff, and also, too, some helicopter footage. We'll see that parade and event later on via the television or on the World Wide Web, probably at YouTube, where you're watching us on H1 Unlimited with the live stream.
Yep, that's where it's going to be, and that's where it's going to be all weekend. We are being told that Corey Peabody is going to come out in the Lynx Enterprises, the U9, boat owned by Daryl and Vanessa Strong, second place finisher here on Lake Guntersville. And I see a rooster tail coming our way. That's going to be Corey. We talked about Katie Norton. We talked about Tana helping us out. I tell you what, we got to give a shout out to Mike Morissette. The guy did yeoman's work here this morning, and I mean he worked, putting up what is over our head, providing us with the shade. We've got fans blowing cool air on us. I tell you what, you and I are sitting in tall cotton right here, thanks to the efforts of both Tana and Mike Morissette. They're something special.
Double tall cotton, fertilized well, and Mike done a great job with that. Mike, thank you so much. And boy, when you work a race, you've got a great staff. This is just a privilege.
That's because I can't do it by myself. I need all these people, just like, that's a great segue, just like Katie Norton and her volunteers. I've talked to Katie a number of times. I don't know how many volunteers she has, but we will find that out. Because as you know, Jeff, these events just flat do not happen without volunteers. They are the lifeblood of something like this. And Katie's got a great group, and she's been building this foundation since 2018. And she's got a great team here. Lynx Healthcare is on the water. It's the U9. Corey Peabody and Jeff, he's going to come slowly across our start-finish line. Had some laps earlier today, turned a hot one at a $160.5.
We saw this earlier today with Corey going at a more leisurely pace to begin his testing run in the U9 Lynx Healthcare. Brad, you mentioned earlier this afternoon it was a great year for Corey in the U9. Hit the podium at every H1 Unlimited Series event. Second here at Guntersville. Third at the Gold Cup in Madison last year. Picked up his first Unlimited win at the Hapo Columbia Cup in Tri-Cities, Washington. And had a strong third in San Diego at Mission Bay. So great way to start for Corey with the new team of Daryl and Vanessa Strong. Of course, the U8 Miss Tri-Cities is the teammate boat, and you're defending Southern Cup champion here on the South's fastest water.
Yeah, when Corey Peabody picked up that first win in the Tri-Cities, he also picked up a nice swim in the Columbia River. There's some great footage of that. The crew members, you can hear them, they're just going, take your helmet off, take your helmet off, and as soon as it came off, come on, and they just walked right off the dock there by the boat, went for a swim. I was kind of standing right there. I managed to step up a little bit and step back. I was thinking I might go for a swim.
You did a great job, my friend. You were there with KONA, and I thought, oh, Brad's going in the drink, but you backed up just in time, showing those phenomenal athletic skills of yesteryear.
Yeah, they still had the quick step with the left foot. Come on, Corey, do something, because we're running out of things to talk if we're getting down to my athletic ability. That athletic ability, it left a few years ago, whole bunch of years ago. Corey Peabody, Lynx Healthcare, want to welcome them to sponsorship of an H1 Unlimited.
There is strategy, though, Brad, involved with this.
Absolutely there is.
I mean, we're having a little fun here, but there is strategy involved with that.
Because what you're going to see when we go racing tomorrow, hydroplanes and all three of our classes will basically run the same start from the standpoint of it is a clock start. And they will leave the pit area and they will have stopwatches set in the cockpit, and they will be watching clocks count down from 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4, 3, all the way down to the 1 minute mark. And the idea is to put your boat at the start-finish line when that clock strikes zero, and you want to have your boat running at full song in clean water. Get across that line a tick early, Jeff, you know what happens. That's a one-lap penalty. And if you're a couple of ticks late, well, guess what?
It hurts you.
You're going to trail the field into turn one, and it's over.
It's over, and you have to be on top of your game in the H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. Corey Peabody, nice lap, put on the clock here in testing in the U9 Lynx Healthcare.
So you talk about the start procedure and how it's all done on the clock. And then you see Corey go around the race course. He took that one lap very, very slowly. And pretty much when he got here to the start-finish line, he started to put his foot in it a little bit. Well, they need to know how long it takes to make that one slow lap. Because, again, they have to watch their clocks. They have radio men talking to them about how much time is left. I can guarantee you that he turned that slow lap north of 80 miles an hour on the average. Great timing by the Morissette team over here. 84.5 would have been the average for that speed. They cannot go below 80 miles an hour. He now knows how long it takes him to run a lap around this 2.5-mile oval at 80 plus miles an hour, specifically 84.
Last lap for Corey was at 145.574 miles per hour, 145.574. Walks the U9, Lynx Healthcare just a touch from side to side, entering turn number 1 on this picturesque race course here at Lake Guntersville. Works off the turn, and Brad, I like that acceleration off the turn, off that last green buoy to the orange buoy. Looked nice.
Yeah, and that boat's always been quick. You know, you talk about boats being fast. Yeah, you want to have a fast race boat, and when we're talking about a fast boat, we're talking about, you know, how fast can a boat go at the top of the chute. But on some of these race courses, it's how quick can you be? How quick can you get it up to speed when you come off that corner? That gets into gear combinations, propeller combinations, and that guy standing right in front of us, Jeff Campbell, he's pretty darn good at setting a boat up.
And that last lap was hot, 159.325 miles per hour, 159.325 for Corey Peabody. And Brad, he's got a pretty good run going into turn number 1. We'll see if he can go above 159, but beautiful turn, that skid fin water coming up, and here's where that boat works well right off that exit pin.
Yeah, come on, Corey, put your foot in it. Here he goes. He's off that corner like a shot, like he shot out of a cannon when he comes out of there. He's got good top end. Doesn't seem to be going quite as quick this time, at least for my way of thinking, but he's still running hard up there. We'll get this last lap that he turned, the one prior to this one. Now, Corey's hot up there at the top end. Big wall of water off that left side skid fin. See what lane he pulls it out to, Jeff. Looks like about lane 2, 159.019. 159.019, Jeff.
Beautiful lap by Corey Peabody by the start-finish line buoy. Once again, the U9 Lynx Healthcare, owned by Daryl and Vanessa Strong. Your top qualifier here last year at the Southern Cup. Brad back in the turn, and what I like about this boat in the turns, it's remaining flat. It's not side-to-side hopping off that skid fin. And, boy, Jeff Campbell and that team, this boat's set up perfectly.
This boat is set up beautifully. They've got to be very happy. Corey comes off the corner. Got his foot pulled out of it here a little bit. We'll get a speed on that last lap, but I think they've got to be awfully happy. Corey's got to be a happy guy behind the wheel there. Wow, we talk about that consistency thing. 159.3, 159.0 last one. 159.238.
No lifting, putting it to it.
Putting it to it. Now see if he doesn't make a timing run off the top end of the race course. Jeff Campbell's not walking away, which means he's still talking to him down here. See if he doesn't put his foot in it coming off that corner and run it down to the line. Jeff puts a stopwatch on it just to see how long it might be. Here comes Corey Peabody. Boy, I remember that sight in 2018 with Jimmy Shane when they came to the finish and came hard. But now it's Corey Peabody. Lynx Healthcare.
And Brad, from your past Southern Cups, that run off the exit pin of turn number 2, the start-finish line buoy, 16 seconds. So in your memory bank, is that about the ideal run when you hit that throttle off that turn to the start-finish line buoy?
Yeah, I was going to say like 12, and of course we're at a pretty strong angle here looking up at that exit pin, so we're not going to get anything very accurate. But the key is where the start-finish line is situated on this race course versus where it is on some of the other race courses. Now, you've got a long in-run coming to that start-finish line in Madison, Indiana for next week, but boy, you go back to Detroit, it's really short, and it's different, but they've got a long run here, and they can come off that exit pin up there, and if they're timed right, they can bring a lot of speed to lane 1.
Madison's consistent with the timing runs. Of course, they'll run back under the bridge this year, the traditional 2.5-mile course. I'll get you tuned in next weekend. 12 seconds at the bridge to the line, 17 seconds off the turn to the line. Going into turn 2 to the line, 23. Let her fly.
And so when you time it from the Milton-Madison Bridge, you're looking at the shadow of the bridge when they go underneath it. Is that one you're clicking?
No.
Okay.
That one's too hard to pinpoint.
We got some We got some of our pro lights getting ready to come out. I think we've got 2 of them, and then it looks like Mr. Bernard in the 91, the Miss Goodman Real Estate, is going to come out and spend some time on the South's fastest water.
So Unlimited's, Brad, 7 in the pits. We've seen 5 boats run, still waiting for an appearance from the U11, Miss Colleen, and the U3, the Turbinator. Griggs presents Miss Ace Hardware.
Jeff, let's take a moment and just step away here quickly. We will be back as soon as we have action on the water, and we expect it to be very quick. Once again, this is Brad Luce along with Jeff Ayler bringing you all the action on the South's fastest water. It's the 2022 APBA Gold Cup, the race for the oldest active motorsports trophy in the world. Jeff and I will be right back. Back here on the start-finish line, we've got some of our pro-light hydroplanes on the water. The first boat to go across was Dylan Runny. Oh, I hear a third. Yeah. Gary Shallett comes across start-finish, so just like that, 3 more of our E350s pro-light hydroplanes. They've been active on the water, Jeff. This is good.
Yeah, Pro-Light's class sponsor Phenom Digital with assistance from RSTZ Transport. Got some good ones out here testing in Pro Light. Boy, nice turn for Dylan Runny out of Rumson, New Jersey, driving into turn number 1. Boat called Pleasure Seekers. Roger Mahan, the owner, out of Far Hills, New Jersey. And Brad, you and I have seen Dylan race before. This is a good shoe.
Yeah, he's a real good shoe, and yeah, you get to this level, and yeah, we keep saying it. These are the best of the best. These are the cream de la cream of drivers in all of these classes. And you get a race on the water like this, you get this many boats pulled together at one event, and the best boats want to come. That's what Katie Norton and her crew has been able to do here.
So Gary Shalvin, the blue yellow craft by the start-finish line buoy, boat called Flyboy. And Brad, Gary Shalvin is a retired pilot from American Airlines. So him and one of our engineering staff have something in common.
Might have to get Mike Morissette over there and have him have a conversation with Gary Shalvin. Jerry hails from Jackson, Mississippi. And thus the name of the boat, Flyboy.
And the dominant Whitecraft, Brad, probably the one on favorite in here on paper is the second Roger Mahan entry. It's driven by Bobby King, the LDC Construction, boat halfway up the back straightaway, the 242. One to watch here in Pro Light this weekend, presented by Phenom Digital. Bobby King in the LDC Construction.
Bobby up at the top end of the race course. We'll watch him come down. You know, to be real honest, Jeff, I was a little bit worried about the pro lights having to come from the other side of the causeway and come underneath that bridge down there, but honestly, it hasn't seemed to be a problem at all.
No, I think it's working real well, but we'll get a little bit better taste of it tomorrow when they go actual racing. They'll go with an unusual 6-minute gun in the inboard hydroplane division. That's just to give them an extra 60 seconds to leave the pits, come under the causeway, give our folks on the bridge a little car wash. Getting that rooster tail up in the air, but I'm sure the drivers have been instructed to go under the causeway, coming out and going back in a safe and orderly fashion, because, Brad, the #1 priority in any hydroplane race is safety.
Absolutely, that's #1, and we've got some of the best safety and rescue personnel in the entire country here this weekend. And as we always say, Jeff, you say it and so do I hope they are the most bored people on the planet this weekend. I hope they bake out there and it's too hot and they're miserable because they're not doing anything.
Yeah, I hope they don't get a call, and but we got to have them.
And I'll tell you what, but if they do get that call, they are so good. They are so very, very good. They train together. You have teams, and if called upon, they will be ready to go. I'll tell you what, this E5 Flyboy, Gary Chalfant out of Jackson, Mississippi, I like this hydroplane. It's a good-looking hydro. I like it.
This is a good boat. Gary's relatively new to the sport, but, Brad, this boat was involved in a serious accident back in 2018-19. Our friend Chris Ritz out of Rochester Hills, Michigan, was driving it. In Cambridge, Maryland, the boat came completely apart. Chris had some serious leg injuries, but thank goodness has recovered. Boat has been reconstructed. Gary Chalfant, new to the sport, but he likes it, and a guy to watch. I don't know if it's a final heat winner, but could contend, no doubt, for a podium finish, getting an inside lane, lane 1-2. That boat's got that capability to hit the podium.
And as you mentioned earlier, it is so important in all three of our classes here. Get a good inside lane and be on that line on time, and boy, that's half the battle. A couple ticks late, and you're going to trail everybody into the corner. It's not going to be a whole lot of fun.
My friend, day #1 of 3 of the 2022 Lake Guntersville Hydrofest. Man, it's been so fun being up here with you this afternoon. I think we're getting close to winding things down for day #1. We'll check with our officials, but once again, a great effort by everybody involved. The meet and greet, the parade through downtown, setting the boats up, getting boats on the water. You got to love it.
You do have to love it, and everybody who's been involved in pulling this event together. And today really wasn't even an official day, per se. Tomorrow we get the big ceremonies. We'll have the opening ceremonies. The crowd will be in here. The buses will be running. The boats will be racing. It's going to be a great, great day tomorrow. On my watch, we should have about 22, 23 minutes left to go. I think we heard something about Jeff Bernard in the 91 coming out. Here comes a boat away from the dock now. We're going to assume that's Jeffy. I'm told it is. Our Cracker Jack team that makes us look pretty good, Jeff. They feed us, too.
They just do an outstanding job. They have turned every pencil and pen and table moving. I've just never had it so good at a race. Thank you. I am spoiled.
Yeah, it happens
and back
real
to
quick.
regular activity next weekend. You can come down and help a little bit if you want.
Oh, they're coming. They're going to be there, Jeff, so get ready. Jeff Bernard gets on the 2.5-mile Aqua Oval, as we call it sometimes here, on the south's fastest water on Lake Guntersville. See if Jeff doesn't open it up and take something pretty quick here. He touched 159 3 times, and in fact, Jeff Ayler, he got to 159.988. I'm not sure you can get that close and not go over.
But it shows the capability of this boat. The second entry from Miss Madison Racing, the gold and black U91. Miss Goodman Real Estate, this craft, your defending APBA Gold Cup champion. Jimmy Shane was in the cockpit last year in Madison, Indiana for the APBA Gold Cup as Bernard works in turn number 1. Jeff, a 4th generation driver from the Weber Racing family. And Brad, another good turn. I like how the drivers are finishing that latter half of that turn. They're getting a good arc off the turn.
They really are. They're getting a great arc off of it. And they're all coming off that corner with a lot of speed, and then they just turn it loose down that long straightaway. Jeff still on that straightaway as he flies up to the top end of the course, gets to that big entrance pin, hangs it to the left. He's already at the apex, and just like that, Jeff Bernard is at the exit pin at the top end of the race course. Will come down. He's going to put a hot one in the books, Jeff Ayler. I love this hydroplane. I always have. It just rides so well on the water.
Boat looked good off the turn. Bernard, a hot lap on the clock here in H1. Unlimited hydroplane testing here at Lake Guntersville for the APBA Gold Cup. Jeff working back into turn number 1, puts it on the hook, works through there nicely, and there's that nice arc again off the corner. And Brad, man, the boats are accelerating well off that exit pin.
Yes, they are. This is going to be a great Gold Cup, and man, it's going to be a fast Gold Cup. We'll get Jeff's speed on his first lap here momentarily. Turn that one at 152 miles an hour, 152.142. Jeff's off the top end of the race course. Come down here and put another hot one in the book. And Jeff, sometimes the casual fan might look at this and go, wow, he turned a lap earlier today, 3 of them, in fact, at 159. But he comes out here and runs a lap at 152. Boy, that didn't work. They're not happy with that. But even if you go backwards in the speed, you still learn something. It's all about learning something. That's why we call it a test session.
Well, hydroplane racing, no different. You see watching on television with NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar, there is telemetry, data that the teams can go back and research. Maybe a different gearbox combination, maybe a different gear, maybe a racing setup was tried here. That speed a little bit quicker at 156.133 miles per hour. That's what makes our job interesting, is to speculate the activity on the water. The ones that know are the teams over in the pits.
Absolutely. We can only speculate, but the only thing I know for sure is the combination that they ran the first time they came out and did those 159s, it was different on that run. But we don't know what they changed. Could have been motor, gearbox, propeller, skid fin location, any number of things.
But this is one on the list that has a shot.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we said earlier they all do, so I'm thinking that is honestly the case. Fans are going to love that Terminator when it gets out here. They always do. The Griggs presents Miss Ace Hardware. And I got to give a little shout out there. It says 610 KONA on the back of that boat as well.
You're on it with the 610 KONA. Brad, a part of that broadcast team when the boats go out to Tri-Cities, Washington, the last weekend of July for the 2022 HAPO Columbia Cup. You got some information.
I do indeed. We've got the GPs have been cleared to go after the 91. That is the 91 driven by Jeff Bernard, the Goodman Real Estate. That boat has made it back across the causeway, back to the pit area. And no slings yet on the 40 and the 3, but there is talk that they may want to go. So we're running toward the top of the hour, and as usually happens, you get the last 15 minutes of a test session. We've had 3 hours. When we get to the last 15 minutes, it's Katie bar the door, bring them all.
Well, we're used to it, Brad, being veteran unlimited hydroplane fans. The turbine boats, that motor weighs 700 pounds, a little easier to maneuver in and out of the boats. Ed Cooper's craft, powered by the Allison aircraft engine. That pup weighs 2,000 plus pounds, a little bit more cantankerous to get out of the truck and in the boat. So hopefully we'll see the Turbinator take a crack to the water here at Lake Guntersville that I've been waiting for well over a year.
And you've been waiting for it. The fans are waiting for it because you and I are talking about it. But I'm going to tell you something, and you know this as well as I do. When the 3 does get out here, whenever it is, if they make their way back out, don't look for them to run a whole bunch of laps. As Jimmy King likes to explain to me every year in the Tri-Cities, he goes, these Allison engines are old. They only have so many laps in them. Use them wisely. He always tells me that, so don't expect him to come out and lay down 6 or 7 laps. It's just flat not going to happen.
But for the fans here this weekend, it'll be such a treat to see the history and the flavor of what brought unlimited hydroplanes to its promise in the 1950s with the 3-point hydroplane and the surplus of aircraft engines. Out in your neck of the woods, we can't thank Stan Sayers enough.
Stan Sayers and Anchor Jensen and that whole entire team that pulled that thing together. It was a major effort. It turned the city of Seattle absolutely on its nose. Don't want to forget Ted Jones, for whom our race course in Seattle is named after. Ted Jones, Anchor Jensen, Stanley Sayers. Stanley Sayers was an automobile dealer in Seattle. They put that strange-looking craft together, took it out on Lake Washington, turned it loose for the world straightaway speed record, set the record, and word traveled across the country that, my goodness, there's a mighty fast boat out in the Pacific Northwest. And then it was announced that Sayers and his team and Jones and all of them, they were going to put the boat on the trailer and take it back to Detroit and compete for the APBA Gold Cup. And the fans in Detroit were not worried about it because, that thing was fast in the straightaway, but they couldn't turn it. I think it was the first heat when he lapped every boat in the heat, and pretty much that was the end of the 1950 Gold Cup. And that was in the days when whoever won the Gold Cup, you got to bring the Gold Cup back to wherever you wanted to contend for it the following year. Seattle had its first race in 1951. The Detroit-Seattle rivalry was born, and oh boy, we've been racing in Seattle ever since, with the exception of you got me on a roll now, Jeff. For the exception of the last 2 years, it's been 3 years since we put unlimited hydroplanes on Lake Washington, and we're going to do it again first week of August.
Boy, it'll be so good to see the unlimiteds back on Lake Washington in Seattle. And Brad, you'll be there, of course, for Seafair. GPA boat coming out. We'll get an ID the closer it gets to our position here at the start-finish line. And also, too, if you're just joining us on H1 Unlimited via YouTube, we're kind of winding down our activity here at day number 1 of 3 of the Lake Guntersville Hydrofest 2022 APBA Gold Cup. We do know that the Miss Beacon Plumbing would like to get back on the water with Dave Bilwalk, and as Brad just mentioned earlier, the U3 Griggs presents Miss Ace Hardware with Jimmy King. Brad on the track, Brandon Kennedy. EMS presents Legacy 1. Let's see if Brandon will run the right track this time in testing.
He had a little trouble the last time out. He was going all the way down to the bottom end of the race course on turning on the unlimited turn. He's got to hang it on the hook about now. He got it right that time. He got it right that time, but that was not at speed, so we'll see if he hammers it and gets it right. Don't worry. Mr. Kennedy's going to figure this out. I don't think you can expect him to make a mistake every time he runs. He is quite the driver.
Wonderful pilot out of Delaware. Of course, Brad, he won the GPA division at last year's Madison Regatta and very dominating up in Southeast Indiana last year. And then in Cambridge, Maryland last year, they had an unusual explosion on the trailer of the boat. Fumes built up under the deck. And since then, they've repaired it, but trying to get it back to where it was in Madison last year, could this be the weekend? And it could be the weekend, the way it runs in turn number 1. Brandon Kennedy out of Newark, Delaware, driving for Richard Hearn out of North Webster, Indiana. EMS presents Legacy 1, and looks like they got a good tune to it right now.
Looked like he's got that course figured out, too. He hammered it into the lower corner. hit the buoys right on the mark. So Brandon Kennedy, if you were hoping he didn't know where the course was, well, that's out the window. Oh, and they're going to be right in the middle of this, Jeff. This is a good-looking hydroplane.
Unusual 1 2/3 track here for GPA and Pro Light here at Guntersville, but so far all the boats appear to be handling it fine in testing as Kennedy works back into turn number 1. And Brad, that's where he likes to be, right on the buoy row. Reason being, shorter way around, easier to win.
Yeah, and you put him in lane 1. You got your hands full. Because he'll have this start procedure figured out. He'll put it on the line when the clock strikes 0. And if he gets to jump on you on the inside, you can say goodnight. Boat sounds real good, Jeff.
And Brandon a little slower this time by the start-finish line buoy. EMS presents Legacy 1, and I think this will conclude the run, but he does crank it to the left. And I think he will point it back to the pit dock, Brad. So Brandon found the course this time, and second time we've seen this boat out on Lake Guntersville this afternoon in closed course testing for GPA.
Jeff, while he heads back across the water and we wait to see if maybe we'll have another H1 Unlimited or 2 try and get out before 5 o'clock, I want to recap, if we can, some of our test laps today and some of the hotter laps that we saw, and we saw some good ones. The fastest lap of the day so far was turned in by Jimmy Shane in the Miss HomeStreet, the U1. He turned a fast lap at 164.410 miles an hour, 164.410. The next fast lap was turned by Dave Vilwalk, just a tick behind, 163.713, 163.713 for Dave Vilwalk in the Beacon Plumbing. Then it was down to Corey Peabody with the Lynx Healthcare, 160.568 miles an hour. The 91, Jeff Bernard, the Goodman Real Estate, with just a tick under 160. He turned it at 159.988. And our slow lap, if that's what you can actually call this, 153.764. That belongs to our defending race champion, J. Michael Kelly, in the U8, the Miss Tri-Cities. We saw some fast laps. This was good.
It was good, Brad, and still a little bit surprised of the Miss Tri-Cities speed. I thought we might see them back out here in testing, but maybe they're trying to get everything set in stone, get back in testing tomorrow from 8 to 10, hopefully improve on that 153 before they go closed course racing for the Unlimiteds tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. with American Dumpster Unlimited 1A. American Dumpster Unlimited 1B will be at 1:30 because between that 2-hour period, we'll have a pro light heat, and then we'll take a break to give our safety and rescue personnel a chance to come in, stretch their legs, take a break, get some refreshment.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at the schedule here, and we have at 5 o'clock on Sunday. That is when we, at least on the schedule, have the final heat set up, presented by the Marshall County Tourism and Sports. That's going to be the final heat, the winner-take-all of our APBA Gold Cup. And you were talking about the U8 and J. Michael Kelly, and just you're not seeing what you thought you might see in that boat yet. But as I was saying, everything builds toward that final heat late Sunday afternoon, and that's when they really want to have the boat running real well. Quick little note here that you may not be aware of. 2 years ago in the Tri-Cities, J. Michael Kelly was the winner in the Graham Trucking, the U12, the boat that's not here this weekend. He won the final heat in the Tri-Cities. He didn't win a preliminary heat all day long. Last year in the Tri-Cities, Corey Peabody never won a preliminary heat in the Tri-Cities, but when the money was on the line, drove around his buddy J. Mike and claimed the big chunk of hardware. That's when you want your boat really rocking.
When the sport went to the winner take-all final, 1976, I believe, that's what it made the final heat so interesting, because
Absolutely.
Prior to that, Brad, it was based on total combined points. You might have enough going into the final, and you could finish third or fourth and still win the event. Toss that out the window. When you come final heat racing since 1976 in H1 Unlimited, it's winner take all final heat, the way it should be.
The best. That was the best decision that was ever made. You had people that were coming down to watch the race, and we have this big build-up to the final heat. And then a boat goes out and finishes in third, and they read the paper the next day, and suddenly he was the winner. That's not going to work. Got to be the guy that takes a checkered flag in the finale.
And some Gold Cups were won that way on combined points and not winning the final heat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had boats win a Gold Cup without ever having won a heat all day long. What comes to mind would be the 1961 Gold Cup. Bill Muncy won it without winning a heat of competition. And the 1955, a very, very famous Gold Cup. You know I love to talk about that, right? 1955 Gold Cup on Lake Washington. Bill Muncy thought he had won the race, but those bad guys from Detroit stole it when Lee Shaneth, driving the U-55, the Gale 5, stole the cup on elapsed time and never won a heat all day long. And Seattle, to this day, we still think the Detroiters stole that Gold Cup.
And there's been court battles on these Gold Cups. Famous court battles.
1956. I think it took 76 days, if I remember. Boy, and look who just came over here to pay us a visit. Mr. Darrell Strong comes over our way. So, Jeff, I think we ought to step away here for just a minute. We'll take a little bit of a break. If we get some activity on the water, we will come right back to you. And if not, and we close the course down, Jeff and I will come back and recap the day real quick and sign off. But for right now, this is Brad Luce and Jeff Ayler saying so long from Guntersville, Alabama. We get another boat on the water. We'll be right back. It's the 2022 Lake Guntersville Hydrofest, the race for the Gold Cup.
Via YouTube. Back on the water and testing activity is the Grand Prix America Hydroplane Series presented by Knighton Industries. I'm Jeff Ayler. Brad Luce taking a little bit of a break, and back up here with us is our new cohort and a step-in color commentator, Eddie Canfouche, and Jeff Bernard on the track and Bad Influence, and Mike Grindell about the fourth season with this boat, and every year it gets better and better and better. This might be the best of all in 22.
Absolutely. They debuted a few years ago in the Hydroplane Racing League Series up in mainly in Canada, and then after a couple of years transitioned over to the Grand Prix America Series, and they've been running very strong. I believe they won the championship last year in the GPA Series, so they're going to be very tough all weekend.
And this is your defending Grand Prix America High Point champion, as Eddie mentioned. Mike Grindell elected to keep number 79 on the boat, not switch to numero 1 for 2022. And you can hear Jeff in the background back off the throttle in that big block supercharged 468 cubic inch engine. Eddie generates 1,400 horsepower, second largest hydroplane class on the planet, and
You get to this series, it's fast, it's tough.
It's incredibly fast and incredibly tough. These guys are the best of the best, you know, outside of the Unlimiteds, and there's a lot of crossover actually between the Unlimited drivers and the Grand Prix drivers. So you know it's tough drivers throughout the entire series, and you're in for a really good show. Now we have another boat coming across. I think that might be Ken Lupton in the GP 577 Lucas Oil.
Okay, Ken Lupton was out earlier in the 577. We'll get a better ID as the sun sets to the west here in Guntersville, giving us a little bit of glare on the water. It is the 577 Lucas Oil, and Eddie, these boats are capable of doing 170 mile an hour competition at the end of each shoot. I'm going to say 140, 145, but if you watch last year's Owensboro Hydro Fair presented by Jago Holmes on that 1.25 mile course, 5 mile heats, they get around here quickly, and you got to be on top of your game. These boats go extremely fast in a short period of time on a tight course.
Yes, they do. Their big draw is they don't quite have the top speed that the Unlimiteds will run, but their acceleration out of the corner, especially with all that torque those motors generate, is absolutely unreal. Their timing marks are going to be very tight. You're going to have to be right on it to be on the line on time, and they get around these corners very quickly.
Eddie, thank you for joining us. I see the black flag is being displayed for the GPA testing. So 2 boats took an opportunity right here at the end. That was Jeff Bernard in the Bad Influence and Ken Lupton in the Lucas Oil. And Brad, Ken Lupton from Waverley, New Zealand. His boat looks extremely good out here on Lake Guntersville. Inside lanes for Ken Lupton. It could be lights out.
That Lucas Oil hydroplane is a quick one, and it's a great-looking hydroplane. This is a new boat, correct?
The 33 is.
The 33, not the 577. Well, we're catching a little update here. What'd you get? You get the New Zealand connection?
They had one identical, brand new in New Zealand. They just sold it and ran it last year. This guy here to our left, this fast Eddie Canfish, he's a walking encyclopedia of anything hydroplaning. Sim racing, commentary, and now driving. He's the Triple Crown winner.
He is the Triple Crown winner. We had a great talk with him in the Tri-Cities last summer, and that would have been on Friday afternoon when
Thank you.
That was on Friday afternoon when we couldn't get out on the water thanks to something we all learned about called sago pondweed. 3 words that strike fear into all hydroplane racing fans, especially those on the West Coast and in the Tri-Cities. I'm being told that that is it for our test session, and judging from some of the movement I'm seeing out on the water, Jeff Ayler, I think we're done for the day here. Here comes our, well, now maybe not. Here comes our executive producer. I think we're supposed to wrap it up, Jeff Ayler. I think that means you and I are just about done. They unplugged us 2 hours ago, but they're still asking us to keep talking and put a wrap on it.
Oh, and this fan along the shoreline came by at the right time for these 2 cold drinks. Wrap it up, my friend, and again, great working with you. We got 2 more days ahead, and you're the best.
Well, Jeff, before you run away, let's take one last look at our schedule for tomorrow. The gates are going to open to the public at 8 a.m., and there will be action right at 8 a.m. We have H1 Unlimited testing from 8 till 10, opening ceremonies at 10 o'clock, and then I know you like that Miss US. I'm going to be ready. 10:15, the Miss US for the U36 hits the water, and then at 10:30, we're going to start doing some racing.
Motorola Systems Grand Prix 1A at 10:30, followed by Marshall Precision Manufacturing Pro Light 1A at 11. Then in 11:30 will be our first Unlimited Heat, American Dumpster Unlimited Heat 1A. And at 12 o'clock, we'll have WQSB Pro Light 1B. Brad will take a break. It'll be an hour. Then we'll get right back at it.
We'll get right back to it. And as Jeff said earlier, all of these times are Central Daylight Time at 1:30. It's American Dumpster Unlimited Heat 1B, followed at 2 o'clock by Randy Jones and Associates Pro Light Heat 2A. Man, what a schedule, Jeff. 2:15, Motorola Systems Grand Prix 1B. Restoration Homes of North America Pro Light Heat 2B comes at 2:45. It's just race after race after race.
And the final part of our card tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Motorola Systems Grand Prix Heat 1C. 3:30, Marshall County Tourism and Sports Unlimited 2A. Miss US 4 takes to the water once again at 4 o'clock for an exhibition run, and we'll wind up our racing at 4:15 with the Marshall County Tourism and Sports Unlimited Heat 2B, and at 5 o'clock, the gates are locked.
The gates are going to close, and then we'll start all over again on Sunday morning again at 8 a.m. But tomorrow, Saturday, June 25, 8 a.m., we will have action on the water as the gates will open to the public. If you're coming down, get here early because there's going to be a lot of action early. Jeff Ayler, we learned a number of months ago you were going to come down and be a part of this broadcast. I couldn't wait to get down here. I couldn't get down. Couldn't wait to get here and work with you. Today was an awful lot of fun. I hope you had a good time.
Brad, I did. Thank you so much. Love working with you. You're so great to work with and so informative. We got 2 days to go. Let's rest the pipes and get ready for day 2 and 3 of the Gold Cup.
It is the 2022 Lake Guntersville Hydrofest. It is the race for the APBA Gold Cup, the oldest active motorsports trophy in the world. All of the activity will be streamed live on the H1 Unlimited YouTube network. Until tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, this is Brad Luce on behalf of Jeff Ayler saying so long. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Good night, everybody.